Chapter 880. Kill. A ferocious and sharp energy swept out in all directions. The ferocious and handsome young man's eyes were like lightning. Dazzling runes spread out from his body, making him look like a ferocious beast. Streaks of attacks tore through the air like lightning. The ferocious young man's aura was like thunder as he killed the evil spirits. There are so many evil spirits. Let's kill them. Not far away, there were 5 young men. They were all around 21 or 22 years old. Their bodies were covered with runes, and they were all ferocious, like ferocious beasts. Wherever the 5 young men passed, the space trembled violently. Each of them had their own unique and terrifying techniques. Large amounts of evil spirits were shattered. After 15 minutes, over 100 evil spirits were killed by the 7 of them in the valley. The 7 young men gathered together. A muscular young man with brown hair looked at the black-robed young man with sharp eyes. The corners of his mouth curled up, and he said, "Boss, there are more and more evil spirits here. They are also getting stronger and stronger. It seems that it will become more and more dangerous. It is said that the deeper we go, the stronger the evil spirits are. Every time we enter the sealed ancient land, even the top disciples of the 9 big forces will die here. Everyone must be careful." The black-robed young man's long sleeves shook slightly. His long black hair fluttered, and his sharp aura slowly retracted. His eyes were deep and boundless. "So what if they are the disciples of the 9 big forces? With your cultivation and talent, you will have a chance to obtain the final benefits." A skinny young man whose aura was emitting a baleful aura seemed to be unconvinced by his peers from the 9 great factions. "Duo Shah, you must not be careless. Some of the disciples of the 9 big forces are definitely not ordinary. Take the 7-star Hall's weapon emperor Qiao Feng, for example. He can already kill martial emperors. The strongest disciples of the 9 big forces are definitely not weak. You must not be careless." A young man in a blue and white robe with a ferocious aura said to the skinny young man with a ferocious aura, "The strongest disciples of the middle region have all come here. There might be some hidden dark horses. We must not be careless." "Second brother, you're being too careful. I don't believe that those people can be that strong." The skinny young man raised his eyebrows and said to the young man in the blue and white robe, "Especially in this place, you can't use any external force. Second brother and big brother's physical strength. Few people can compare with you. I'm afraid that the bloodline of the ancient demonic beasts is just SOO." "Haha," the young man in the blue and white robe laughed. He looked at the skinny young man and said, "Our physical bodies are nothing compared to the president's. The president's physical body is truly terrifying." He paused and continued, "Don't underestimate anyone. Everyone must remember this. Otherwise, one day, you will encounter a calamity. There may be a dark horse hidden in this heaven's pride competition. We must not be careless. Guild leader, is he really that strong?" A slender young man with a handsome face seemed to have some doubts about the blue and white-robed young man's words. However, he was very clear that his second brother's words were absolutely true. "You will know how strong the president is in the future. There's news that there's a disciple called Du Xiaofu in the ancient heaven sect. He's very strong. If there's no one with the same name, then he should be the president," the black-robed young man said while looking at the sky. His eyes were sharp, his nose was high, and his thin lips were curved into a proud smile. He opened his mouth and said softly, "This news was obtained a few years ago. I don't know if that person is the president. We can go and find the people of the ancient heaven sect first. If it's really the president, then I'm afraid that he will also come to this ancient sealed land. I wonder what level president's cultivation is at now." The blue and white robed young man looked at the black-robed young man and smiled. Then he said to the 5 young men behind him, "Anyang, duo sha inyan in tianjue, guwuying, the conditions that I and the boss promised you are the same. We will definitely fulfill it. When we meet the president, we will naturally make you stronger." What I'm most interested in is how strong the president is. When the time comes, I will personally test it. Otherwise, I won't be convinced. The one who spoke the most was a thin young man with a murderous aura around him. His eyes were filled with suspicion. Duo Shah, you're welcome to try. The blue and white-robed young man smiled and said, but don't blame me for not warning you. It's best not to look for a beating. All right, it's time for us to head out. The black-robed youth's sharp and deep eyes flashed with a faint smile. Swoosh, swoosh, 7 figures soared into the air and then disappeared into the sky. Time passed slowly in the sealed ancient land. In the outside world, everyone was waiting and looking forward to it. The final result of the sealed ancient land had undoubtedly affected everyone in the central continent. All the forces were paying close attention to it. However, in the Stone Dragon Empire and the Huang country, the atmosphere was unusually lively. The expectations of the Heavenly Talents competition had been diluted. As everyone had expected, the Stone Dragon Empire that had stood for thousands of years and the Huang country that had just been established had finally started a war. It was said that the 3 demonic beasts of the Huang country had left after causing a ruckus in the imperial palace of the Stone Dragon Empire. Not long after, the old emperor of the Stone Dragon Empire and an expert of the Great Lun sect had massacred the capital of the Huang country. In the end, an expert of the Huang country had attacked and scared them off. Not long ago, dozens of experts of the Ancient Heaven sect had suddenly arrived at the imperial palace of the Stone Dragon Empire. It was said that there were dozens of martial emperor realm experts. That was an extremely terrifying force. As soon as the dozens of martial emperor realm experts appeared, they attacked fiercely. Most of the imperial palace of the Stone Dragon Empire had been razed to the ground. Countless imperial guards were killed, and the imperial palace was covered in blood. It was said that in the end, the imperial palace had to use the imperial palace's dragon chi. However, the Ancient Heaven sect had also sent a legendary honorable realm expert. A honorable realm expert could move mountains and seas with a wave of his hand. Even the imperial palace's dragon chi, which the Stone Dragon Empire was proud of, could not stop them. Just as the Stone Dragon Empire was about to be destroyed, the experts of the Great Lun sect suddenly came to help and blocked the experts of the Ancient Heaven sect. That battle shocked the billions of people in the imperial capital of the Stone Dragon Empire. When the experts of the 2 top sects attacked, they could move mountains and seas with a wave of their hand. When the Honorable Realm experts attacked, they sealed off the sky. The shock waves of energy rippled as if they were going to shatter this part of the world. The billions of people in the Dragon Empire trembled. They were all shocked. The battle lasted for several hours. In the end, both sects suffered casualties. Neither side could do anything to the other. They could only stop temporarily. Only then did the experts of the Ancient Heaven sect leave. On the same day, the Stone Dragon Empire suddenly declared war on the Huang country and wanted to take back the Stone Dragon Empire. A few days later, the Huang country's army gathered. The World Society, Celestial Beast Hall, and other factions of the World Alliance all joined in. The war between the 2 countries was about to break out. At the same time, another shocking piece of news came from the Stone Dragon Empire. The North Vanquishing Prince, the South Vanquishing Prince, and the East Vanquishing Prince all announced that they would retire at the same time. All the nobles of the Xia, Ouyang, and Jiang families retired at the same time. The 3 families left the imperial capital of the Dragon Empire. When the news spread, it wasn't hard for people to guess that the Stone Dragon Empire and the Huang country were going to war. Given the relationship between the North Vanquishing Prince, the South Vanquishing Prince, and the East Vanquishing Prince, and the Huang country's founder, the Rock Emperor, they naturally retired because of this matter. The 3 old kings were awe-inspiring in the Stone Dragon Empire's army. They had countless disciples. Most of the generals in the army were groomed by these 3 old Wangs. Therefore, when the 3 old kings retired at the same time, the Stone Dragon Empire's army was shaken. It was like an earthquake in the army. Many generals in the Stone Dragon Empire's army also announced that they would retire. The situation was much worse than what people had expected. In addition, the World Society's army and the Celestial Beast Hall's demonic beasts had fought side by side. During the Stone Dragon Empire's most difficult time, the World Society and the Celestial Beast Hall had supported the Stone Dragon Empire's army and never retreated. The Stone Dragon Empire's army had always remembered this. Now that the two countries were at war and the armies met, they had mixed feelings. Although the Stone Dragon Empire's army was much larger than the Huang country's army, it was difficult for them to make a move. Some generals even turned a blind eye and only defended. A general from the imperial family appeared and killed a few generals who disobeyed orders. Under the pressure, the war broke out. During the war between the two countries, there were also experts from the Ancient Heaven sect and the Great Luin sect. However, the Ancient Heaven sect and the Great Luin sect seemed to be maintaining a delicate balance. The real war was still brewing. No one sent out their true experts, as if they were waiting for something at the same time. At this time, some people had guessed that the Divine Light Court would help the Stone Dragon Empire when the Stone Dragon Empire and the Huang country went to war. Chapter 881. After all, the first princess of the Stone Dragon Empire was Cheng Shengnan. She was the most dazzling existence among the younger generation of the Divine Light Court. The royal family of the Stone Dragon Empire also sent a message to the Divine Light Court to ask for help. However, the result was unexpected. The Divine Light Court did not send any experts to help the Stone Dragon Empire. Instead, they replied that the Stone Dragon Empire had the Great Luin sect and should be enough to deal with the small, desolate country. When this news was leaked, those who were observant knew that the Divine Light Court could not even fend for themselves. This was because the Seven-Star Hall of the Spirit Domain had announced at the same time that they were declaring war on the Divine Light Court. The experts of the Seven-Star Hall had already started attacking the Divine Light Court and purging the various forces of the Divine Light Court. Even the Fecta Hall and the Migres Hall announced to the public that anyone who attacked the Divine Light Court would be treated as a friend by the Seven-Star Hall and would be able to obtain the tools and elixirs refined by the Fecta Hall and the Migres Hall. Once this news was spread, it immediately attracted many independent cultivators and even many other forces to join in the fight against the Divine Light Court. After all, the Divine Light Court was not a big force like the 3 sects and 3 schools. Under the temptation of being able to get elixirs and tools refined by the Fecta Hall and the Migres Hall, many people were willing to make the exchange. It should be known that it was not easy to make the Medicine Talisman Masters and the Weapon Talisman Masters a favor. Moreover, the Fecta Hall and the Migres Hall were the sacred grounds of the Medicine Talisman Masters and the Weapon Talisman Masters. The Divine Light Court could not even fend for themselves. However, the battle with the Seven-Star Hall had not reached the most intense stage yet. Both sides seemed to have their own concerns. Everything was normal in the sealed ancient land. Time passed slowly. Countless evil spirits were still being purged every day. However, many young men and women who entered became nourishment for the evil spirits. On a dry riverbed, sand and stones covered the ground. The air was filled with the aura of thunder and lightning from countless years ago. 30 to 40 extraordinary young men and women were clustered behind a green-clothed young lady, a black-robed young man, a cloud-robed young man, and a graceful and hot woman. At this moment, they were surrounded by hundreds of young men and women. TSK Tisk, I'm afraid that the few of you are not enough for us to take action. Know your place and hand over all your chinkuan bags. Otherwise, no one will know that all of you will die here today and you will never be able to leave again. A young man in green and the beautiful woman in tights chien, beautiful woman, and a beautiful woman in tight-fitting clothes. And the beautiful woman and a beautiful woman, a beautiful woman, and a beautiful woman's beautiful woman, as well as the woman, and a beautiful, the woman, and beauty. Devil God was woman's ice snow. However, when they heard the words of the scarred young man, the gazes of the several dozen people who were surrounded did not change at all. Instead, they all had faint smiles on their faces. Ili you. The girl in green raised her head slightly. A little golden macaque stood on her shoulder. She looked at the young man with the scar with her ethereal eyes. The smile in her eyes was captivating. That beautiful smile penetrated one's heart, causing the scarred young man to be stunned. After which he laughed out loud and said to the hundreds of young men and women behind him, "Brothers, this little girl asked us if we are robbers." Ha ha! As the young man with the scar finished his words, the hundreds of young men and women around him roared with laughter. Their laughter was extremely presumptuous. In the past 2 months, they had been looking for opportunities as well as robbing. In this sealed ancient land, where there were no rules at all, robbing and plundering was not surprising. Our Changdao cave is a place to live. It's just robbery. Hand over your chinkuan bags obediently. The men hand over their chinkuan bags, but the women must stay. They are all the best. That's right. The women must stay. They are all the best. We will have a good time when the time comes. The words of the hundreds of young men and women became more and more unscrupulous and unpleasant. They did not take the girl in green and the others seriously at all. To them, those dozens of people seemed to be from a small place. They were more than enough to take them down with their hundreds of people. I haven't robbed in a long time, but this time you all deserve to die. Listening to the unscrupulous and unpleasant laughter, a cold, murderous intent suddenly shot out from the girl in green's eyes. With a shake of her long sleeves, the girl in green's graceful body appeared in front of the young man with the scar like a ghost. No one could see her movements clearly. A blazing green and red flame spread out from the palm of her hand and quickly enveloped the young man with the scar. The blazing green and red flame could burn the soul. The scorching aura made people's hair stand on end. Ah, the young man with the scar was a martial king at the Nirvana realm. He thought that as long as he did not provoke the people from the One Valley, 2 religions, 3 sects, 3 schools, 7-star hall, Divine Light Court, and other forces, he would be able to sleep peacefully. But at this moment, before he could react, a scream was heard. In just a short moment, in just a few breaths, the body of the young man with the scar turned into ashes in the green and red flames. Not even a trace of him was left. He did not even know how he died. Indeed, you all deserve to die. The young man in the black robe attacked. With a punch, several young men in front of him who were still trembling and staring in shock were blown up at the same time. Kill them all. The young man in the cloud robe shouted in a deep voice. His figure swept out, and his attack was fierce and swift. Kill! 30 to 40 young men and women immediately began to counterattack. Each of them was fierce and swift, like young eagles that were growing and training. One day, they would be able to spread their wings and soar. The hundreds of young men and women did not even have the time to react. In just a short period of time, they were all killed in the midst of screams and wails. These people only knew that they had provoked the wrong person and kicked a steel plate when they were about to die. Woo-woo! A huge beast-shaped demon spirit that was dozens of feet tall let out an ear-piercing sound. Its blood-red eyes were greedily looking at a young man in purple soft armor. Amidst the ear-piercing roar, the huge beast-shaped demon spirit's 4 limbs suddenly stomped on the ground. Its figure pounced out like a fierce tiger pouncing on its prey. It instantly appeared in front of the young man in purple soft armor and opened its mouth to devour him. The young man in purple soft armor was naturally Du Xiaofu. The eyes under the mask looked indifferently at the beast-shaped demon spirit that was pouncing towards him. With a flick of his finger, a dazzling thunderbolt light suddenly swept out from his hand. Chila! The thunderbolt light swept out, and its aura made the beast-shaped demon spirit fearful. A kind of fear that came from the depths of its soul gushed out from its blood-red eyes. It quickly retreated. However, it was already too late. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared behind the beast-shaped demon spirit in a ghost-like manner. A thunderbolt fist directly blasted out, and lightning spread in all directions. Rumble, a low and deep sound was emitted, and the space was about to explode. The beast-shaped demon spirit was subsequently destroyed and turned into ashes. Young Hall Master, this is the dark blood 9-leaf Lingji. It is difficult to find outside. It is a treasure. Wu Ma Sheng swept across the sky. Multicolored light spread out from his hand, and a few stalks of elixirs appeared. Their auras were rich, and they did not seem ordinary. Little Xingxing circled around Du Xiaofu's shoulder and looked at the elixir in Wu Ma Sheng's hand. Its golden eyes rotated and its tiny wings flapped twice. Its gaze was filled with malicious intent. Swoosh, swoosh, the sound of rushing wind resounded. Soon after, Lin Weiqi, Dongli Diao, Sun Wu, Shi Tu, and the others all arrived. From their auras, it seemed that they had just experienced another battle. I never thought that we would be able to casually encounter a complete beast king, realm demon spirit. It's getting more and more dangerous. Lin Weiqi frowned. Her red dress was like fire, outlining the curves of her body. She said softly, "According to the elders in the hall, no matter how deep we went in the past 2 months, it shouldn't be so difficult now. Everyone be careful. Let's continue our journey." Du Xiaofu said softly and frowned. It had been 2 months, and the number of demon spirits he had encountered had increased. The strength of the demon spirits had also increased. Although he had obtained many benefits along the way, such as a disciple of the Alcade Palace and the inheritance of a sovereign realm expert, there had been no news of the Yin spiritual crystal. This made Du Xiaofu worried, and his heart was heavy. Among the disciples of the 7-Star Hall, there had been a few unfortunate deaths during this period. After a little reorganization, the disciples of the 7-Star Hall continued their journey. During these 2 months, Du Xiaofu and the others had encountered many other people along the way. However, it was the same. As long as they encountered Du Xiaofu and the others' forces, they would automatically walk away. Obviously, they were afraid of the 7-Star Hall. Of course, there were also people who wanted to join the 7-Star Hall's lineup and find a big tree to rely on. However, they were all rejected by Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu did not pay much attention to the people he encountered along the way. With Du Xiaofu's current cultivation strength, ordinary people could not pose any threat to him. Of course, Du Xiaofu had also encountered several groups of extraordinary forces in the past 2 months. There were even some who had just reached the martial royal realm. However, they were not too strong and could not be stronger than Dongli Diao and Lin Weiqi. Another 7 or 8 days later, Du Xiaofu and the others were only blocked by evil creatures along the way. However, with Du Xiaofu's help, the power of thunder and lightning was the absolute nemesis of some of the evil creatures. A vast mountain range appeared in front of the disciples of the 7-Star Hall. There was not a single blade of grass growing in the mountain range. Looking into the distance, the further one looked into the mountain range, the darker their vision became, and the thicker the black fog became. The mountain range was majestic and vast, like a huge dragon circling around. The black fog spread over the mountain peak. It was bloody and cold, with energy fluctuations. "Third young master, it has been 2 days, and we have not encountered an evil spirit. This is so strange." Stone frowned and quickened his pace to Du Xiaofu's side. There was a puzzled look in his eyes. "This is really strange." Dongli Jiao was also puzzled. In this place where there should be more and more evil spirits, they had not encountered any evil spirits for 2 days. This was definitely not normal. Chapter 882. Stop! Du Xiaofu raised his hand and signaled for everyone to stop. He looked at the sky in front of him. The vast and majestic mountain range was terrifyingly quiet. Black fog lingered in the mountain range. It emitted a chilling aura that made one's heart tremble. Swoosh! Du Xiaofu's figure floated in midair. He frowned as he looked at the sky in front of him. The black fog in the depths of the mountain range was getting thicker and thicker. It was as if a dark cloud was occupying the sky. Chi. Occasionally there would be flashes of lightning within the thick black fog, adding to the strangeness of the scene. With the sharp power of his essence spirit, Du Xiaofu knew that this was probably not a good place. As Du Xiaofu leaped into the air, Dong Lidiao, Shi Tu, and Lin Weiqi also leaped into the air. They looked at the black fog in front of them and frowned. Lin Weiqi's eyes rippled. She opened her red lips and said, "There seems to be people in front. There are quite a few of them. Everyone be careful." Du Xiaofu softly said. He had already peeked into the depths of the mountain range in front of him. There were quite a number of figures faintly discernible. Accompanied by the noise, there were likely thousands of people. This made Du Xiaofu feel a little strange. In this place, everyone was on guard against each other. Once they met, they would tacitly avoid each other. He did not expect so many people to gather here. It seemed that something had happened in front of them. Swoosh, swoosh! After which, everyone spread out and headed towards the depths of the mountain range. Since so many people were gathered here, there must be something special about that place. After a while, the seven-star hall's people arrived at the mountain range in front of them. Thousands of people gathered together. Their respective formations were somewhat guarded. It's the seven-star hall's weapon emperor, Qiao Feng. Many young men and women's eyes rippled when they saw the seven-star hall's disciples. No one stopped Du Xiaofu and the rest from approaching. Du Xiaofu stepped forward. Hundreds of figures had gathered on top of a mountain in front of him. A voice rang out. "Everyone, I'm sure you all know that the monster inside is extremely strange. It's different from all the other monsters. I'm afraid it's not very possible for anyone to deal with it alone." Upon hearing the voice, Du Xiaofu's eyes immediately lifted. He followed the direction of the voice and looked over, only to see a handsome young man wearing a blue long robe on the mountain top in front of him. He was currently talking to the people around him. That figure was the profound talisman Sex Guoming. It's Guoming. Du Xiaofu was surprised. He didn't expect to see Guoming here. Since Guoming was here, perhaps Zhu Shui would be here as well. Du Xiaofu's gaze swept across the crowd, and a beautiful woman appeared before his eyes. She had a slender figure and wore a long dress. She was about 21 or 22 years old, and her entire body was filled with elegance. The woman stood there quietly and did not speak much. Her eyebrows were curved, and her face was as white as jade. Her face was as beautiful as the morning sun, and there were slight dimples on her cheeks. For some reason, she had an aura of elegance. Zhu Shui. Du Xiaofu's eyes slightly lifted. Although he hadn't seen her for a few years, he could still recognize that beautiful woman. She was Zhu Shui, whom he had met in the barbaric Beast Mountain Range. Over the years, Zhu Shui's cultivation had improved at an astonishing rate. Although she wasn't the kind of beauty that could cause the downfall of a country, her peerless beauty was enough to cause ripples in the hearts of countless men. From the looks of it, there seems to be a frightening evil spirit inside. Du Xiaofu's eyes peered into the depths of the mountain range. There was a frightening aura that pervaded the air. Even ordinary evil spirits didn't dare to approach this place. This place was too strange. This demonic creature is really frightening. It's too powerful. Many people have already fallen in the hands of that demonic creature. Ordinary martial emperors can't escape. It's said that the demonic creature's cave is filled with multicolored light and energy fluctuations. There are definitely many treasures inside. The surrounding crowd whispered and discussed. Du Xiaofu and the disciples of the seven-star hall moved forward. From the crowd's whispers, they could roughly understand the situation. It turned out that in this mountain range, someone had discovered a large number of treasures. However, there was also a frightening demonic creature inside. No one knew what this demonic creature was. However, as long as someone had barged in, no one had been able to come out alive. It was said that there were martial emperors who had entered and never came out again. That demonic creature should be very frightening. However, there are also countless treasures inside the demonic creature's cave. As long as you can kill that demonic creature, you can obtain countless treasures. Who knows, there might even be an ancient expert's inheritance and celestial artifacts. Guoming stood on a huge rock at the top of the mountain and looked around. His words were extremely provocative. Hearing Guoming's words, the surrounding thousands of people immediately whispered and went into an uproar. An ancient expert's inheritance and celestial artifacts. To cultivators, these were absolutely irresistible temptations. Even if any one of us were to join forces, I'm afraid that we won't be able to do anything to the demonic creature. We won't be able to obtain any treasures. Therefore, I would like to invite everyone to join forces with my profound talisman sect to eliminate the demonic creature. When the time comes, we'll split the treasures equally. Guoming continued. The demonic creature was powerful and had terrifying strength. No one would be able to obtain the treasures alone. Naturally, everyone understood this principle. However, there were also many people who knew that it was impossible for them to truly believe the profound talisman sect. None of the young men and women who were able to enter this place were simple people. The profound talisman sect's words were pleasant to hear. However, if they really obtained the treasures in the end, how could the profound talisman sect split them equally? At that time, who would dare to ask for things from the profound talisman sect? Seeing that there were people who were doubting them, the expressions of many profound talisman sect's disciples changed. They wanted to go and kill that demonic creature. However, in order to reduce the casualties of the profound talisman sect, they could only rely on the strength of an alliance. If these people before them didn't go, the profound talisman sect wouldn't dare to go alone. It was said that the demonic creature's strength was absolutely terrifying. I know that everyone is worried. How about this? We can first make an agreement. First, we'll form an alliance to deal with the demonic creature together. In the end, the treasures will be split equally according to the amount of effort we put in. My profound talisman sect will absolutely not deceive others. I can guarantee this with the reputation of my profound talisman sect. Guoming looked at the crowd. Naturally, he knew what they were thinking. He smiled faintly and continued, Second, during the period of our alliance, no one is allowed to attack their companions. Otherwise, my profound talisman sect will not let you go. Hearing Guoming's words, many people in the crowd lowered their heads in disgust. They looked at each other in dismay. However, many people began to raise their hands to vote in agreement. With the reputation and strength of the profound talisman sect, it was natural for people to believe in their guarantee. With the strength of the profound talisman sect, it was enough to make people believe in them. Only a few dozen people seemed to be worried that the demonic creature would be difficult to deal with. They left on their own accord, unwilling to participate in this matter. Seeing that almost everyone had agreed, Guoming breathed a sigh of relief. His gaze swept across the crowd and landed on the formation of several hundred disciples of the seven-star hall. The expression in his eyes changed slightly. He lowered his head and said something to the disciples of the profound talisman sect. Swoosh, swoosh! Immediately, the gazes of many disciples of the profound talisman sect pierced through the crowd and landed on Du Xiaofu and the other disciples of the seven-star hall. Astonishment appeared in the eyes of some people. The strength displayed by the weapon Emperor Qiaofeng on the divine lightning mountain range had also shocked them. Zhu Shui stood at the front of the profound talisman sect disciples. Her beautiful eyes slightly moved as she looked at the youth wearing purple soft armor in the crowd. After sizing him up for a while, she shifted her gaze away. I didn't expect that the weapon emperor of the seven-star hall, Qiaofeng, would also come. Looks like our alliance this time is even more foolproof. Guoming jumped down from the boulder and walked towards the crowd. The crowd on both sides parted until he arrived before Du Xiaofu. He said, Welcome to the seven-star hall's weapon emperor Qiaofeng and the rest of you. Guoming clearly knew that the weapon emperor Qiaofeng and some of the disciples of the seven-star hall were extremely powerful. If they could join, they would naturally have a higher chance of victory. Du Xiaofu looked at Guoming in front of him. At this moment, he was unable to reveal his true identity. He could only bitterly smile inwardly. Soon after, he smiled faintly and said, "I'm sorry, I'm used to doing things alone. You can go look for demonic creatures, and so can I. It's fine as long as we don't interfere with each other. What do you think?" Du Xiaofu's gaze swept across the surroundings. He took in everyone's cultivation. At this moment, the majority of the several thousand people around him were martial kings, and a small number of high-ranked martial marquises. As for martial emperors, there seemed to be only 2 or 3 people in the profound talisman sect. However, Zhu Shui's aura was so well hidden that no one could detect it. Among the several thousand people, even if they were to form an alliance, the profound talisman sect would be the strongest. Since the demonic creature was so powerful, ordinary people would not be able to fight against it. Du Xiaofu estimated in his heart that once the battle started, these temporary allies would definitely scatter once they realized that they were no match for the demonic creature. They would not be able to withstand a single blow. If he were to form an alliance with these people, he would not be able to gain any advantage. He would only be at a disadvantage. However, after hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Guoming was instantly stunned. He could only bitterly smile. Many of the profound talisman sect's disciples in front were surprised when they heard this. The profound talisman sect had extended an olive branch to the 7-star hall, and Guoming had even personally invited them. They did not expect the 7-star hall to not give them any face. Du Xiaofu looked at Guoming and nodded. Then he swept his gaze across the profound talisman sect's disciples, Zhu Shui. He said to Lin Weiqi, Dongli Jiao, Shi Tu, and the others behind him, "Let's go and take a look." "Humph, don't think that you can be so shameless after dealing with a small divine light court. My profound talisman sect is not something that the divine light court can compare to." An indifferent voice came from the profound talisman sect's formation. It was a young man in a loose robe who looked to be around 23 or 24 years old. He was tall and had an extraordinary aura. However, this young man looked at Du Xiaofu and the others in the 7-star hall, and the corners of his mouth curled up in disdain. He said, "Since you don't want to form an alliance, you should leave on your own. We will deal with the demonic creature inside. If you want to fish in troubled waters, you should leave as soon as possible." "Bullshit! Does this place belong to your profound talisman sect? Who do you think you are? If you have the ability, then wipe out all the evil spirits in this sealed ancient land." Dongli Diao looked at the young man from the profound talisman sect who had just spoken. He did not have a good temper. He said in a deep voice, "The 7-star hall will deal with the demonic creature in front. If you don't want to go, then you can leave on your own. We don't know who will fish in troubled waters. You're courting death." Hearing Dongli Jiao's words, the young man's face suddenly turned gloomy. His eyes flickered with coldness as he stared at Dongli Jiao. "The peak of the martial king realm. Who do you think you are? If you have the ability, then come and try. I'll destroy you any time." Dongli Jiao sneered. His battle robe fluttered in the wind. The patterns on his cloak were like a phoenix spreading its wings. The corners of his mouth curled up into a proud smile. An aura of a beast emperor swept out. Within the sealed ancient land, he couldn't use any external power. As the main body of the cloud-piercing phoenix blood condor, Dongli Condor didn't fear anyone on the same level as him. Of course, other than a freak like Du Xiaofu, he was an exception. Therefore, Dongli Jiao did not put the martial king realm cultivator of the profound talisman sect in his eyes. Boom! As Dongli Jiao's beast emperor realm aura rippled, the young man from the profound talisman sect's face turned completely ugly. His handsome face turned green and red. He knew that he could not resist the beast emperor realm aura. "Forget it, let's go." Du Xiaofu gestured to Dongli Jiao. His gaze swept over the profound talisman sect's young man, who had an ugly expression on his face. His eyebrows twitched. Although many years had passed, Du Xiaofu was still able to recognize that young man. He was Chen Yan, who was with Zhu Shui and Guoming in Savage Beast Mountain Range a few years ago. Humph! Seeing Du Xiaofu's signal, Dong Li Jiao withdrew his aura and let out a deep snort. Although Dong Li Jiao was not the strongest person in the 7-star hall, his Beast Emperor Realm aura was definitely one of the strongest among his peers in the 9 great forces. Moreover, they were in the sealed ancient land. Dong Li Jiao had a huge advantage. The 7-star hall has no intention of forming an alliance. Let's act alone. Zhu Shui said. She looked at the young man in the soft armor and felt a little puzzled. Junior's sister, Zhu Shui. Chen Yan's face turned pale, and he seemed to want to say something. I said, let's act alone. Do I need to say it again? Zhu Shui looked at Chen Yan indifferently and ignored him. Let's go. Du Xiaofu gestured and stepped forward. The disciples of the 7-star hall walked through the crowd. The crowd dispersed and looked at the disciples of the 7-star hall as they entered the depths of the mountain. Forming an alliance with the people of the Profound Talisman sect will be a great loss. Those people are just a motley crew. Once they encounter a tyrannical demon spirit, they will immediately disperse. Sun Wu said on the mountain path, filled with black fog. Young Hall Master, are there really treasures here? Wu Ma Sheng asked Du Xiaofu. In the past 2 months, he had seen what it meant to hunt for treasures. As long as the young Hall Master said there were treasures, he would definitely not return empty-handed. There are quite a lot of treasures, but everyone has to be careful. Du Xiaofu's expression turned serious. The aura here made Du Xiaofu feel strange. It was very different from the aura in other places. There are corpses. Stone's voice rang out. In the valley filled with black fog, several corpses appeared. A huge chapter. The remaining chapters are still being written, but it will be updated very late. Today is New Year's Eve. Xiaoyu wishes all of you a happy new year and a bright future. Chapter 883. Everyone looked over and saw several corpses by the side of the mountain path. It seemed like they had died not too long ago, at most a day or 2 ago. These corpses are strange. Wu Ma Xing looked at the corpses and was confused. These corpses were strange. They were white and slightly swollen. However, there seemed to be some life force in them. Look, there are strange bloody holes on the corpses' necks. Tao Yu squatted beside one of the corpses and also felt that the corpses were strange. There were 2 bloody holes on each of the corpses' necks. These bloody holes look like teeth marks. Were they bitten by demonic beasts? Sun Wu asked. Impossible. Dong Li Jiao shook his head and said, Demonic beasts won't do that. They will just swallow people. Why would they leave teeth marks? It can't be done by demonic beasts. These corpses are really strange. Du Xiaofu squatted on the ground and carefully examined the corpses. He had never seen such strange corpses before. Young Master, the people from the Xian Talisman sect are behind us. Lin Weiqi looked behind them. At that moment, the disciples of the Xian Talisman sect and their allies were coming from behind. They seemed to be following the 7-star hall. As he looked at the people from the Profound Talisman sect that had arrived, Tao Yu frowned and said, It seems that the people from the Profound Talisman sect intend to use us as the vanguard. Du Xiaofu stood up and looked at the thousands of people from the mysterious Talisman sect and their alliance. He raised his eyebrows slightly and said to the people behind him, Ignore them. Let's go first. The people from the 7-star hall are arrogant and despotic. Let's let them be the vanguard. Let's see how they will die. Among the disciples of the mysterious Talisman sect, Shen Yan looked ahead with a cold look in his eyes. Then he looked at the beautiful girl in front of him and secretly felt some fluctuations in his heart. Shen Yan knew that the distance between him and her was getting farther and farther. Originally, he wanted to keep the beautiful woman in front of him as his exclusive property. As long as he could become strong, there was nothing he couldn't do. However, Chen Yan did not expect that in a short few years, the peerlessly beautiful woman before him had undergone a tremendous change. In the past few years, Not only had Zhu Shui become the #1 disciple of the profound talisman sect's younger generation, she had also become the sect master's adopted daughter. Her status was extraordinary, and it was very likely that she would become the sect master of the profound talisman sect in the future. However, Qin Yan did not give up. He believed that he still had a chance. As long as he could obtain the inheritance of an expert in this sealed ancient land and become the second strongest person in the profound talisman sect, he would still have a chance. As long as he had the opportunity to obtain Zhu Shui, with Zhu Shui's talent and status in the profound talisman sect, he would definitely be able to save himself 100 years of struggle in the profound talisman sect. Senior sister Zhu Shui, look, these corpses are so strange. Guo Ming's voice could be heard as he squatted on the ground to examine the corpse. It's very strange. These corpses seem to still be alive, but their souls have already dispersed. There are bloody holes on their necks. It seems like they were bitten by something. Zhu Shui frowned. These corpses gave her an indescribable feeling. Woo! Suddenly, the corpse on the ground opened its mouth and emitted a strange sound. Then, its eyes opened and emitted a strange light. Its body stiffened, but its strength was boundless. Immediately, it hugged a disciple of the profound talisman sect tightly. 2 sharp teeth in its mouth emitted a cold light as it bit towards the disciple's neck. Be careful! An expert of the profound talisman sect shouted. He waved his hand, and a stream of energy directly cut off the corpse's arm. Swish! The corpse's arm was cut off, but it was not affected at all. Before the disciple of the profound talisman sect could recover from his shock, he was bitten by the corpse. Immediately he let out a miserable shriek as his blood was sucked by the corpse. The corpse's eyes emitted a terrifying light. Seeing this, the crowd was also stunned. For a moment, everyone was stunned. This scene was beyond everyone's expectation. Swish! A stream of energy swept across the sky and landed on the corpse, destroying it. The disciple of the profound talisman sect who was bitten was paralyzed and fell to the ground. There were 2 bloody holes on his neck and blood was flowing out. His face was pale and he was scared out of his wits. How are you? Zhu Shui's beautiful figure appeared beside the disciple. She formed a hand seal and stopped the blood from flowing out of his neck. Then, she checked the injuries on the disciple's body. She frowned and looked serious. The disciple's body was trembling. After a while, he slowly recovered from his shock. It seemed that he was fine. Zhu Shui heaved a sigh of relief and said, It's good that you're fine. Destroy these corpses. Let's move on. Bang, 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 bang. The disciples of the profound talisman sect then destroyed all the corpses on the ground. In the dim space, the group walked carefully. Young Palace Master, the people of the profound talisman sect are still following us. What should we do? Should we let them walk in front? Dongli Jiao said to Du Xiaofu. He looked at the people of the profound talisman sect behind him with displeasure in his eyes. The road is not ours. Let them follow us. Du Xiaofu smiled and continued to walk deeper into the mountain range. Woo, woo! Black fog surged and the mountain range became darker. Chi! In front of a huge rock, a figure suddenly drilled out. It brought along a cold aura and directly pounced on the group. What is that? Lin Weiqi flicked her wrist and a scorching aura spread out. A raging flame engulfed her body and immediately enveloped her. Under the raging flame, the figure turned into ashes after a while. However, compared to ordinary evil spirits, it was much harder to burn. Woo woo! Almost at the same time, dozens of figures suddenly flew out from behind the rock. Some of them moved slowly, while others moved as fast as lightning. They directly pounced on the group. Evil spirits, attack! Stone and the others shouted. Then, many figures flew out and attacked those figures. Bang bang! Low energy sounds were heard as the group attacked. However, these figures seemed to be very strange. The group's attacks could not destroy them. Some of the figures had their limbs and heads destroyed, but they could still continue to attack. Unless they were completely destroyed, they could not be destroyed. And these figures were much more difficult to deal with than those human-shaped evil spirits and beast-shaped evil spirits. Especially their defensive power, it was extremely terrifying. The cold aura of blood was too terrifying. What are these things? Their defensive power is so terrifying. These things are too terrifying. Some of them are very strong. Their defensive power is much stronger than those of the same cultivation level. They are even stronger than the beast race. Bang, bang, bang. The group shouted and attacked with all their might. Finally, the dozens of figures were destroyed. Du Xiaofu held a strange figure in his hand. It was obviously a human, but it roared ferociously like a beast. It had 2 fangs that emitted a cold light. It was the most ferocious existence among these strange creatures, vaguely surpassing the demonic beasts. Du Xiaofu frowned. This strange and terrifying creature was only comparable to a beginner martial king, but its aura was much stronger than a beginner beast king, especially the defensive power of these strange creatures. It was comparable to the top demonic beasts on the heavenly beast list. These strange creatures also had strange attacks. They were not afraid of pain or death. What are these things? Du Xiaofu was puzzled. He wanted to place a seal on these terrifying creatures, but he discovered that these creatures were immune to ordinary seals. Ordinary seals were completely ineffective against them. Zombies, they're zombies. There are zombies here. Little Xingxing stood on Du Xiaofu's shoulder and lifted his head. His little wings flapped slightly, and his golden eyes emitted a strange light. At this moment, there was a golden light spreading all over his entire body. This golden light was extremely strange. It was not the golden light of the golden-winged Great Peng, but an extremely unique golden light. It carried a supreme aura, like the emperor of all beasts, the aura of a true dragon. Woo, woo! Under the golden light, the strange figure that was captured by Du Xiaofu immediately revealed fear in its eyes. Zombies, what are zombies? Du Xiaofu glanced sideways at little Xingxing, and his eyes revealed some astonishment. He did not expect this little fellow to know so much. It even knew about these strange creatures. Little Xingxing's golden eyes shone with a proud expression, and said, "The inheritance of my mind knows that these things are called zombies. They are very strange and evil. However, I feel that they should be afraid of me. There are strong and weak zombies, and the levels are divided into flesh zombie, awakening zombie, walking zombie, purple zombie, white zombie, green zombie, hairy zombie, flying zombie, and the highest level I don't seem to remember. How are they formed?" Du Xiaofu asked curiously. He could not help but look at little Xingxing in a new light. They are corpses. Under special circumstances, they will have corpse chi. Some corpse chi will have vitality and eventually become zombies. They will eventually develop intelligence and absorb the cold energy and aura to cultivate. As their cultivation increases, these zombies will become stronger and stronger. Low-level zombies will lose their blood, and their corpse chi will gradually form. Their movements will be slow, and they are very easy to deal with. They are also extremely afraid of sunlight, fire, extreme yang, and some special things. Little Xingxing said to Du Xiaofu proudly. However, once these zombies reach the level of green zombie, they will grow black hair, and their corpse chi will turn from green to black, forming a black, baleful aura. Their bodies will also be like copper skin and iron bones. The higher their cultivation, the tougher their bodies will be. They will no longer fear ordinary fire, and they will not even fear normal yang objects. Only special methods can restrain them. The zombie in your hand should be a green zombie. Chapter 884. When Du Xiaofu heard this, he immediately looked at the strange creature in his hand. It was covered in a strange type of green fur and had a black, murderous aura around it. Its body was extremely strong. Woo woo! The green zombie released a terrifying aura. It couldn't break free from Du Xiaofu's restriction and let out a roar. This zombie is really strange. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. These strange creatures were not normal. This is just a green zombie. It is said that hairy zombies and flying zombies have terrifying methods. When they reach a higher level, they are also called Ba or Golden Growler. The legendary Ba and Golden Growler can kill dragons and swallow clouds. Wherever they go, the land will be dyed red. Furthermore, the most terrifying existence among the zombies can be immortal. They are separated from the 6 realms of reincarnation by the heavens and earth. When they cultivate to the extreme, they can enter and exit the 2 realms of yin and yang. They can go up the 9 heavens and down the netherworld. Although they are lifeless, they are as free as gods. These things are so scary. When Du Xiaofu heard this, he was shocked. He didn't expect these zombies to be so powerful. Wow, these things are really scary. Stone came over and listened to little Xingxing. He was shocked. These things are too scary. It's better to destroy them. Du Xiaofu spoke. These evil creatures were too terrifying. Once they appeared in the outside world, the people would definitely be plunged into misery and suffering. The aura of extreme yang lightning in his hands erupted, destroying all of them into ashes. Woo woo! Behind the stone, in a vast valley, countless roars sounded. They were exactly the same as the zombies that came just now. Du Xiaofu frowned. He jumped into the sky and looked around. In the distance, there were countless streams of light roaring towards them. There were more than 10,000 of them. Many of them had extremely powerful auras. They were much stronger than the green zombie that they just captured. There were even a few zombies whose auras were stronger than the green zombies. The auras were very terrifying. Young Hall Master, there are so many strange zombies. Their auras are terrifying. Lin Weiqi's beautiful figure also appeared beside Du Xiaofu, her eyes filled with shock. Those zombie silhouettes swept over like dark clouds, fast as lightning, densely packed. Quick! Everyone hide under the rocks, quick! Du Xiaofu looked at the countless zombies rushing over like lightning. It was simply a zombie wave. He immediately shouted to the surrounding 7-star Hall disciples. These zombies were terrifying. Although he wasn't afraid of being trapped, there were still hundreds of 7-star Hall disciples. They wouldn't be able to contend against them, and he wouldn't be able to protect them too much. Upon hearing Du Xiaofu's words, the disciples of the 7-star Hall immediately gathered under a large rock. Du Xiaofu's silhouette then hid inside the rock. He waved his hand, and a charm array was set up. Then, everyone's silhouettes mysteriously disappeared. Everyone from the profound talisman sect. There are terrifying evil spirits approaching. Be careful and flee quickly. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's voice reverberated in the air. It's the Weapon Emperor, Qiao Feng. Why isn't he fleeing when the terrifying evil spirits are approaching? He clearly wants to scare us away and take the treasure for himself. Extremely childish. In front of the thousands of people from the profound talisman sect, Chen Yan looked ahead with disdain in his eyes. Woo woo. As soon as Chen Yan's voice fell, an overwhelming number of silhouettes had already swept over. Those silhouettes were accompanied by a monstrous, baleful aura. They were like an enormous black storm that formed countless tornadoes that swept over. When they saw this scene, all the people from the profound talisman sex alliance instantly gasped with astonishment in their eyes. Some of the countless silhouettes were as fast as lightning. Their blood-red eyes surged with baleful aura, and it was like a black ocean wave that swept over the horizon. Woo-woo sounds reverberated in the mountain range, and it was ear-piercing and unpleasant. Evil spirits are coming. Everyone be careful. Zhu Shui shouted, and her eyes narrowed slightly. She waved her hand and started to set up a talisman array. Array flags started to condense. They seemed to be similar to those strange corpses. Everyone be careful. Don't hold back. Guai Ming shouted loudly, and the talisman symbols on his body surged. profound energy swept out, and he directly attacked those strange evil spirits that had already approached. Rumble! In an instant, those evil spirits that blotted out the sky and covered the earth collided with the people from the Profound Talisman Sex Alliance. These evil spirits weren't as easy to deal with as those strange corpses that the Profound Talisman Sex disciples had seen. Although these evil spirits were similar to those strange corpses, their strength was much more terrifying. The terrifying evil spirits charged into the crowd, and they immediately tore many people into bloody fragments. They also bit many people's necks. These evil spirits are too terrifying. Quickly run. The people from the Profound Talisman sect are blocking them. Let's observe the situation. As the terrifying evil spirits pounced over, many people from the Profound Talisman Sex Alliance turned pale with fright. Some people immediately ran away, and some people waited for the situation to develop. They retreated while observing the situation. However, those who wanted to escape or observe the situation miscalculated. The evil spirits that blotted out the sky and covered the earth immediately surrounded them, making it impossible for them to escape. Bang! 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 An intense battle was about to break out. Energy collided with each other, and the bloody mist of the evil spirits was constantly blown apart. Under the rock, the talisman array disappeared, and the disciples of the seven-star hall came out. Looking at the thousands of people from the Profound Talisman Sex Alliance and the Profound Talisman Sex disciples who were surrounded by the zombie army, the disciples of the seven-star hall revealed a gloating smile. Let them follow us. They wanted to use us as cannon fodder. Now it's time for them to suffer. Stone laughed heartily, and he almost rejoiced in their misfortune. Du Xiaofu looked into the distance. At this moment, the zombie army that blotted out the sky and covered the earth had already pounced on the Profound Talisman Sex disciples. However, with the strength of Zhu Shui and Guoming, they shouldn't be in too much danger. As for the others, Du Xiaofu wasn't so kind as to worry about them. Let's go inside first, lest those zombies discover us, Du Xiaofu softly said to everyone. Immediately after, he and the several hundred disciples of the seven-star hall, who were gloating over their misfortune, immediately disappeared from the spot. After entering the depths of the mountain range, Du Xiaofu no longer wanted to pay attention to the battle. As long as Zhu Shui and Guoming weren't in danger, it was fine. He still had his own matters to attend to. As the zombie army and the Profound Talisman Sex disciples fought, the disciples of the seven-star hall didn't see many zombies along the way. Along the way, they only saw a few low-level zombies wandering around. However, they were easily killed by Lin Weiqi, Dongli Diao, Stone, and the others. Along the way, they also saw many corpses. From the looks of it, they only died a few days ago, and there were bloody holes on their necks. As a precaution, Du Xiaofu, Lin Weiqi, and the others could only destroy those corpses. No wonder other demon spirits didn't come close. Looks like this is the zombies' territory. Lin Weiqi's red dress was like fire, and her beautiful figure was curled into a beautiful arc. She carefully guarded her surroundings along the way. 2 hours later, in the depths of the mountain range, a dense black fog shrouded the sky. It was like a haze in a valley. Look, there's a broken wall in front. Dongli Diao looked at the broken wall in the depths of the valley. The black fog, there was like a dragon soaring into the sky. A baleful aura swept out, causing one's heart to tremble. What a terrifying aura. The closer we get, the scarier it is. Stone shivered. That terrifying, baleful aura swept out, causing his hair to stand on end. A feeling of extreme danger grew in his heart. Everyone be careful. Du Xiaofu instructed everyone. His consciousness was scanning the surroundings as he slowly approached. As they approached the valley, there was a huge palace at the top of the valley. The palace was built along the mountain, occupying a large area of the mountain's cliff. However, more than half of the palace was damaged. Only a large piece of broken wall was left. Even so, it still looked extremely majestic and magnificent. In front of the valley there was a square. The stone slabs were mottled and damaged. The square was surrounded by black fog, revealing ancient traces. No one knew how long this place had existed. But one thing was for sure, it was definitely a long time. Everyone looked around, back to back, as they moved forward, vigilant of their surroundings. What's this? Stone found something special. In front of the square, in the center, there were 4 lifelike statues sitting cross-legged. These statues had different appearances, but at this moment they were all sitting cross-legged as if they were meditating. The statues' eyes were closed as if they were alive. However, there was no vitality in their bodies. They were just statues. Stone, back off! Du Xiaofu suddenly shouted. Then his silhouette flashed out. He pulled shirt too and retreated a dozen steps. Woo-woo! At this moment, a few woo-woo sounds rang out in the square. Everyone's eyes suddenly changed. They looked towards the source of the sound, and their faces changed. They saw that the 4 statues had begun to awaken, and a terrifying, baleful aura swept out. The 4 figures stood up, and they looked no different from humans. Black light spread out in their eyes, and black, baleful aura lingered on the surface of their bodies. Their aura was absolutely terrifying. Black, baleful aura, these seem to be hairy zombies. They are 1 level higher than green zombies. Little Xing stretched his little head out from Du Xiaofu's shoulder. His golden eyes looked at the 4 hairy zombies with a curious expression. Chapter 885. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. The aura of the 4 hairy zombies was too terrifying. They were definitely not below the initial stage of the martial royal realm. Their aura made one's hair stand on end. If the 4 zombies were to enter the crowd outside, they would definitely be like tigers entering a flock of sheep, trespassing into the imperial tombs. You are courting death. The 4 zombies looked at Du Xiaofu and the others and spoke in human language. As soon as the voice was heard, the 4 terrifying zombies pounced on the group. Terrifying black fog, runes, shot up into the sky. It was extremely terrifying. Dongli Diao, Lin Weiqi, each of you take on 1. Stone, Sun Tian, Wumasheng, Yubao, Taoyu, the 5 of you take on 1. Leave the last one to me. Du Xiaofu's eyes hardened when he sensed the aura of the 4 furry zombies. Each of these puppets possessed the aura of an initial stage martial emperor, coupled with their frightening defensive capabilities and special techniques, as well as the black, baleful aura. They were definitely difficult to deal with. Among the disciples of the 7-star hall, other than Dongli Jiao, Lin Weiqi, Stone, and the others, no one could fight against them. Once they were affected, they would be torn apart. Attack! Dongli Jiao, Lin Weiqi, Stone, Sun Tian, and the others heard him and immediately attacked. Terrifying auras swept out. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's figure flashed and immediately blocked in front of a hairy zombie. Black fog surged in the hairy zombie's eyes, and an extremely cold, murderous aura spread. The claw print in its hand carried a fierce, murderous aura, and it had already charged towards Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu attacked, and a fist print wrapped in purple flames flew towards the hairy zombie. Boom! The 2 of them collided, and a terrifying power exploded. The entire square shook. Attack! Lin Weiqi also instantly faced a hairy zombie. Vast and boundless blazing profound qi accompanied the flaming runes as they swept past. That blazing aura erupted from her graceful and curvy body in an earth-shattering manner. Dang dang! Du Xiaofu and the hairy zombie in front of him collided, and the hairy zombie was forced back several steps. Du Xiaofu's punch was enough to blow up an ordinary martial royal realm mystery level cultivator. However, the hairy zombie was only pushed back a little. Its body was not damaged at all. This furry zombie's terrifying defensive power was definitely stronger than Dongli Diao's original body's defensive power. What a terrifying zombie! Du Xiaofu was astonished. This type of zombie was too terrifying. It didn't fear death, and its defensive power was shocking. Trespassing into the Imperial Tombs die. After the hairy zombie stabilized its body, it looked at Du Xiaofu with murderous intent surging in its eyes. Its ferocious face was frightening, and a vigorous black aura surged. The energy pressure caused the square to tremble violently. In an instant, it pounced towards Du Xiaofu as fast as lightning. Du Xiaofu squinted his eyes under the mask. His palms formed a seal, and lightning spread in his hands. Lightning flashed in his eyes, and in the black fog in the air, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Lightning destruction finger! A lightning finger seal swept down like a bolt of lightning and fiercely collided with the hairy zombie that was pouncing towards him. Lightning was definitely an object of extreme yang. At this moment, Du Xiaofu clearly knew how terrifying the thing in front of him was. The lightning finger seal collided with the hairy zombie's palm. The lightning caused the hairy zombie's murderous eyes to surge with fear and dread. Under the lightning finger seal, the hairy zombie's iron-like right arm was directly destroyed, but not much blood flowed out. Woo-woo! However, the hairy zombie seemed to be able to feel the pain and let out a hiss. Divine lightning explosion. Lightning flashed. Taking advantage of that instant, Du Xiaofu's speed was like that of a god. It was strange and unpredictable, and as fast as lightning. Another punch landed on the hairy zombie's chest, and a hole was forcefully created in its chest. The hairy zombie lost an arm, and the hole in its chest opened, but its eyes still surged with murderous intent. The broken hand and the hole in its chest were actually slowly recovering in a strange manner. That scene caused Du Xiaofu to be stunned and shocked. These hairy zombies were a lot more terrifying than the zombies he met before. It was as if they could not be killed at all. Dad, these are hairy zombies. They have already condensed a corpse core in their bodies. Within their Dantian's spirit watchtower, those corpse cores are condensed from the energy they have been absorbing. It's equivalent to the pulse spirit of a martial cultivator or the primordial spirit of a spirit symbol master. As long as we take away their corpse cores, they will be easy to deal with. Little Xingxing seemed to have thought of something, and immediately said excitedly on Du Xiaofu's shoulder. In such a terrifying collision, the energy surged, but the little guy did not show the slightest bit of fear. Instead, it seemed to be extremely excited. Why didn't you say so earlier? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. At that instant, the hairy zombie had already pounced over with a fierce roar of murderous intent. I just remembered. These are all things from the inheritance in my head. I couldn't think of so much in such a short period of time. Little Xingxing pouted. There were some ripples in his golden eyes, making him seem very pitiful. He said with a bit of grievance, "If I knew, I wouldn't have told you. Good intentions are not rewarded. Little ingrate, I was wrong this time." Du Xiaofu muttered. The hairy zombie in front of him had already arrived in front of him again and threw a punch. Asterisk chi. Asterisk, when that punch landed, the space exploded. Du Xiaofu's body instantly exploded. Following the ripples of space that spread out, he became fragments. However, no blood flowed out. Asterisk boom. Asterisk at the same time, Du Xiaofu's body appeared beside the hairy zombie. A fist that was wrapped in a lightning glow directly smashed into the hairy zombie's lower abdomen. When this punch landed, a frightening lightning flashed and turned into a silver snake that surged out. The surrounding space trembled. Crack, crack! Quite a number of ancient mottled stone slabs on the ground were blasted apart and turned into dust. The cracks on the ground directly cracked open. The hairy zombie's lower abdomen was shattered by Du Xiaofu's punch. A round bead that was around the size of a baby's fist, which was emitting a pale green glow, appeared. The surrounding black evil aura that was wrapped in a frightening energy rippled apart. This is a good thing. It is much better than an elixir. Little Xingxing's tender young girl's voice was emitted. Her small body was unusually fast. Her body rushed out from Du Xiaofu's shoulder and seemed to be a little faster than lightning. She opened her small mouth and flicked her tongue. She directly swallowed the pale green bead that was wrapped in a black evil aura that was suspended in the air into her mouth, as though she had not had enough. The hairy zombie was heavily injured, and its footsteps were forced back. The sole of its foot rubbed a long crack on the ground. "Damn it! Give me back my corpse core." Seeing the pale green bead being swallowed by little Xingxing, the hairy zombie loudly yelled. Fear surged out of its eyes, and it immediately pounced towards little Xingxing. Chila. Du Xiaofu's body appeared, and a fist landed directly on the hairy zombie's head. The fist emitted a lightning glow, and the silver snake flickered like a raging wave beating the shore. It shook the surrounding plaza, causing the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. The rumbling sounds were endless. The frightening hairy zombie was finally completely shattered and destroyed. It did not recover. "Are you all right after eating the corpse core?" Du Xiaofu immediately raised his head and asked little Xingxing. That little guy had swallowed the corpse core that was surging with black evil aura. That kind of energy fluctuation was even more tyrannical than ordinary martial monarchs who had just ascended. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but worry. "I'm fine. This corpse core is good stuff. If a cultivator swallows it, they can directly increase their cultivation. If I swallow it, it will be the same." Little Xingxing returned to Du Xiaofu's shoulder and said with a face full of excitement, he was much happier than when he ate the spirit medicine. "The corpse core also has such an effect." Du Xiaofu immediately glared at little Xingxing. If he knew earlier, he would have swallowed the corpse core. He wouldn't have let that little ingrate beat him to it. After that, Du Xiaofu looked at the surrounding battlefield. Lin Weiqi, Dongli Diao, Stone, and the others were dealing with the 3 hairy zombies. But from the situation of the battle, Dongli Diao was firmly suppressed and was at a disadvantage even when he activated his true body. Lin Weiqi was not much better. Stone and the other 4 joined forces, and Yu Bai laid out a talisman array. However, the talisman array's effect seemed to not have much effect on the hairy zombies. They were also at a disadvantage, as expected of a great ominous place. Du Xiaofu's gaze slightly moved. With the strength of the 3 hairy zombies, Lin Weiqi and Dongli Diao were unable to do anything and were suppressed to a disadvantage. This time, of all the central province's younger generation that entered the sealed ancient land, how many of them would be stronger than Lin Weiqi and Dongli Diao? One could imagine what would happen to the others if they came here. It was no wonder that even the strongest disciples of the younger generation from the 9 big powers who entered this place could possibly die here. Bang, bang, bang. After a short moment, under the shocked gazes of the surrounding people, Du Xiaofu followed suit and intervened in the battlefield. He helped Stone, Lin Weiqi, Dongli Diao, and the others to destroy the 3 hairy zombies. It was only 3 corpse cores. This time, Du Xiaofu was prepared and did not let them fall into little Xingxing's mouth. Little Xingxing was so angry that he kept muttering, "Is there a father like you? You are abusing me. It's enough for you to eat 1 corpse core. Don't waste such a good thing." Du Xiaofu glared at little Xingxing. He did not want to pay any more attention to that little ingrate. Anyway, he did not see any benefits for it to eat it. As soon as his voice fell, Du Xiaofu looked at the ruins. There was a broken palace there, and there was a black, evil aura soaring into the sky. "Young master, there seems to be a treasure in there." Dongli Diao withdrew his true body. His aura was extremely miserable and his face was pale. He was in an extremely sorry state after being attacked by the hairy zombie just now. Chapter 886. Everyone be careful. Dongli Diao, Lin Weiqi, Stone, you 3 follow me in. The rest of you stay here. Inform us immediately if anything happens. Du Xiaofu said to the people behind him after thinking for a while. There was a terrifying aura inside. It was the imperial tomb that the hairy zombie had mentioned. Du Xiaofu had to be prepared. Swoosh, swoosh! The four of them flew into the air and headed for the damaged palace. Bang, bang, bang! With a low muffled sound, a low energy fluctuation swept out. The zombie army and the disciples of the profound talisman sect fought fiercely. A large number of zombies were destroyed. Zhu Shui set up a talisman array and activated the energy of heaven and earth to kill a large number of zombies. There were many experts in the profound talisman sect. There were also martial emperors and human kings. They killed many zombies. As for the allies, many of them wanted to escape. However, they were caught up in the end. For their own lives, they had no choice but to fight back. A large number of zombies were killed, and many people were killed. More than 1,000 people were torn apart by the zombies. Even the disciples of the profound talisman sect had lost more than 20 of them. Dozens of them were injured. Around the battlefield, blood was dripping. A baleful aura filled the sky. Many people were bitten and were urgently treating their wounds. Bastard, the people of the 7-star Hall set us up. They purposely lured these strange, evil spirits to attack us. Lu Kuan cursed loudly. His hair was disheveled and his clothes were tattered. His aura was chaotic. It seemed like he had suffered a lot. They have already kindly informed us. How can we blame them? Didn't you not believe them? Guoming rolled his eyes at Chen Yan. Since a few years ago in the savage Beast Mountain Range, he had disliked this senior, Brother Chen Yan. Guoming, you're siding with an outsider. Did the 7 Stars Palace give you some benefits? Chen Yan gazed at Guoming with an extremely unsightly expression. In these past few years, Guoming and Zhu Shui had been very close, and he'd obtained a lot of benefits. His cultivation had improved greatly, and he'd never been inferior to Chen Yan. It was even to the extent that he faintly surpassed Chen Yan, and this caused Chen Yan to feel displeased in his heart. Senior Brother Chen Yan, watch your words. Guoming couldn't be bothered to pay attention to Chen Yan. During these past few years in the profound talisman sect, the open and veiled struggles between him and Chen Yan had already become a common occurrence. In the end, he simply couldn't be bothered to pay attention to Chen Yan. Chen Yan was instantly enraged when he saw that Guoming actually didn't want to pay any attention to him. Guoming was obviously disdainful of him. Not good. Look at junior brother Huang. At that moment, a cry of astonishment came from the crowd. A disciple of the profound talisman sect suddenly had a murderous look in his eyes. His face was distorted as he roared. Then, something even more shocking happened. Fangs grew out of the profound talisman sect's disciple's mouth. Then, as if he had turned into a different person, he pounced on his fellow disciples as if he had gone mad. TSK. The profound talisman sect's experts placed restrictions on him, but the young man didn't seem to be affected at all. He continued to pounce towards the crowd. Boom! A young martial emperor from the profound talisman sect attacked. He used a vast amount of energy to suppress the young man who had turned into a ferocious beast. Junior brother Huang has become exactly the same as those evil spirits. What's going on? The profound talisman sect's disciples were astonished. Many of the members of the profound talisman sect were also astonished. Unexpectedly, someone had turned into an evil spirit. Junior brother Huang was bitten by that strange corpse. Could it be related to this? A profound talisman sect's disciple's expression became serious. He had sensed that something was wrong. Zhu Shui's body landed on the ground. She was extremely beautiful. Her chi surged as she inspected the disciple who had turned into a ferocious beast. Then her beautiful eyes dimmed, and she said in a soft voice, Junior brother Huang's vitality has been destroyed by the murderous chi. Even his soul has been erased. He's already dead. After she finished speaking, Zhu Shui looked at the murderous chi in the surroundings and said in a soft voice, It might be related to the murderous chi in this place. Everyone, is there anyone who has been bitten? You must pay attention. If someone is bitten, they will turn into an evil spirit? What should I do? I was bitten just now. I was bitten too. Will I die? What should I do? I shouldn't have come here. Instantly, many people in the crowd cried out in alarm. Some of the unfortunate ones who were bitten by the evil spirits were terrified and flustered. Chunyan's arm moved back slightly when he heard this. There was a small tear on his arm, and 2 teeth marks could be faintly seen. Although the teeth marks were shallow, they were tainted with some traces of blood. Senior brother Chunyan, are you all right? A young man patted Chunyan, who was in a daze, and asked, Why are you in a daze? Chunyan's entire body trembled as he recovered from his shock, and his countenance was ghastly pale while cold sweat seeped out from the corners of his forehead as he said to the young man, I'm worried about junior brother Huang. These evil spirits are too detestable, and we must annihilate all of them. Senior apprentice sister Zhu Shui, what should we do about junior apprentice brother Huang? He has changed so much. Guoming looked at junior apprentice brother Huang, who was currently being suppressed. He roared ferociously and bared his fangs. There was no difference between him and a wild beast, and his gaze was also very dim. That was his junior apprentice brother, who had usually guided him in his cultivation. Junior apprentice brother Huang is no longer junior apprentice brother Huang. He is already dead. Let's deal with him as we should. When the time comes, let the sect take care of the families of the dead brothers. Zhu Shui's gaze was dim. She felt extremely uncomfortable as she watched her brothers die one after another, and was unable to stop them. Guoming understood and nodded. He then said to Zhu Shui, I understand. Don't be too sad. This kind of thing can't be avoided every time. Our final goal is to obtain the final benefits and stabilize the profound talisman sect. Inside the palace, there were broken walls all around. Occasionally, one could see some talisman weapons and many eerie white bones among the rubble. The treasure seems to be inside. The crowd shuttled through the broken walls. In front of them was a large palace, and there was a faint, dazzling light spreading out. The energy ripples caused the space to tremble, but there was also a terrifying black aura that soared into the sky in front of them. Be careful. Let's go in and try. Du Xiaofu was on full alert. It wasn't difficult to find out that there were many treasures inside. However, there was also great danger. The black aura that soared into the sky made one feel that it was too terrifying. Everyone carefully walked into the main hall and looked around. Then their eyes lit up. The vast palace was filled with chinkuan bags, talisman weapons, spiritual weapons, and some scattered spiritual herbs and armors. There were even many Dao weapons in the palace. The aura of the Dao weapons filled the air. There were extraordinary middle and high-rank Dao weapons, and it seemed that there were also high-rank Dao weapons. Densely packed talisman weapons and Dao weapons covered the entire palace. Spiritual herbs and chinkuan bags were scattered everywhere. Around the palace, there were already broken walls and ruins. Above them, the sky was exposed, and there was a murderous aura in the surroundings. At the center of the palace, there was a golden coffin. It seemed to be made of gold, and runes spread out around it. It was dazzling. Above the golden coffin, there was a pale, golden corpse, core floating. Billowing murderous aura gathered from the surroundings and poured into the golden coffin, causing the surrounding murderous aura to fill the sky. Then it fell on the corpse core, and finally the black aura soared into the sky. That terrifying black fiendish aura caused Dongli Diao, Lin Weiqi, and Stone to tremble. Buzz, buzz! At this moment, Du Xiaofu could also feel that under the guidance of the terrifying murderous aura, the purple-gold heavenly palace behind him was trembling. It seemed that it was being guided by the murderous aura. The soul of the murderous weapon was causing trouble inside, trying to break free from the suppression. Trespassing into the imperial tombs, you're courting death. A deep and cold shout came out. An old man with green hair rushed out from beside the golden coffin. The black aura around him was monstrous. Like lightning, he directly pounced on Du Xiaofu and the others. Be careful! Du Xiaofu shouted softly. He didn't dodge and punched out. The two waves of energy collided, causing the already dilapidated hall to explode like a thunderclap. Rumble! The rumbling sound echoed in the surroundings, and endless runes, lightning, and black fog erupted. Swish! This time, Du Xiaofu's body was directly pushed back. He brushed against the ground and was pushed back in a straight line. The ground cracked and exploded. So strong! Du Xiaofu was shocked. The opponent's strength was too strong. To be able to push him back, the opponent's strength was absolutely terrifying. It was the first time he encountered such a tyrannical opponent in the sealed ancient land. Slightly raising his head, Du Xiaofu saw a hairy zombie appear. The hairy zombie didn't seem to be young. It looked like an old man with green hair all over its body. Its aura was many times stronger than the 4 hairy zombies that were just killed outside. It was completely comparable to the aura of a martial emperor at the Nirvana realm. That level of cultivation was truly tyrannical to the extreme. This hairy zombie is powerful. Let's work together to deal with it. Stone shouted and stomped on the ground. His eyes revealed a strange light, and runes surrounded his body. He directly pounced on the powerful hairy zombie. Bang! However, just as the rock was about to collide, the fur zombie shook its arm and roared out with a punch. Instantly, the rock was swept away and its body was sent flying away, smashing heavily into a wall and shattering it into pieces. Chapter 887. Walala! Lin Weiqi made a move, activating the raging flame, martial vein. A terrifying pressure descended, and raging flames burned towards the hairy zombie. The blazing aura was terrifying, and the hairy zombie seemed to be afraid. But then it soared into the sky, wrapped in a black aura. Woo! Woo! Black runes surged, and the powerful hairy zombie roared the sky. A terrifying aura swept out, like a black demonic sun rising into the sky, shattering the space. Bang! Not long after, the terrifying hairy zombie broke through the sea of flames and resisted Lin Weiqi's raging flame martial vein. As it appeared in front of Lin Weiqi, the powerful hairy zombie punched directly. Bang! The black demon rune turned into a demonic sun, destroying the sea of flames. The powerful hairy zombie forced Lin Weiqi's delicate body back, and a trace of red blood flowed out of her red lips. Coo-coo! Dongli Jiao's cloud phoenix blood eagle appeared, screaming and roaring. It flapped its wings and destroyed many broken walls. Dongli Jiao's enormous body flapped its wings, but it could not disperse the terrifying aura that surged from all directions. Trespassing into the imperial mausoleum, all must die. The hairy zombie rushed out, its body boiling with black mist, like a demon awakening. The black aura was like a tsunami, and it immediately collided with Dongli Jiao. But the result was the same. After several collisions this year, Dongli Jiao was knocked down. Its huge body crashed into a broken wall of the main hall, and the impact shook the mountains. It was heavily injured. What a powerful hairy zombie! Du Xiaofu's eyes were filled with shock. This hairy zombie was too powerful. Woo woo! The powerful hairy zombie roared. It did not allow anyone to get close to the golden coffin, and continued to stare at Du Xiaofu. All of you must die! The hairy zombie looked at Du Xiaofu and shouted. Its black aura fluctuated, and its eyes were frightening. It was like a beast with sharp fangs, and it rushed towards Du Xiaofu. Its speed was too fast. Boom! All of a sudden, a terrifying pressure descended from the sky. The runes shone brightly like raging flames. What is this? Suddenly feeling this aura, the furry zombie cried out in alarm. This aura made him feel a sense of danger from the bottom of his heart, and he was terrified. In front of Du Xiaofu, the mysterious runes of the talisman fluctuated and finally condensed into the nether enlightenment grass, suppressing all evil. This stalk of grass was the bane of all evil beings. Light surged, and the symbols on the dark, penetrating grass flickered. It was as if a glorious sun was burning, erupting with divine radiance to purify the black mist and baleful energy. Go! Just as the formidable hairy zombie was astonished, the dark penetrating grass in Du Xiaofu's hand had already pounced on the formidable hairy zombie. Waves of pressure surged forth like waves, immediately engulfing the formidable hairy zombie. Woo woo! The ferocious hairy zombie rose to resist, black fog and baleful aura billowing out. Although the nether seeker grass could suppress the hairy zombie, it was still able to struggle. The nether seeker grass could not completely suppress it in a short period of time. Du Xiaofu's eyes were extremely solemn. If his cultivation was a step higher and his understanding of the nether seeker grass was more thorough, he might be able to suppress this hairy zombie. Rumble! Du Xiaofu began to activate his thunder martial vein. Thunder and lightning spread, and destructive thunder and lightning fell from all directions. Thunder and lightning swept across the sky like a torrential rain. The vast pressure caused the formidable hairy zombie to show fear again. Thunder and lightning swept down, and silver snakes flickered. The aura was strong, and the murderous aura spread. It was not austere, but it showed the majesty of creation. It showed the righteousness of heaven and earth, and it was the purest of yang. It could be vast and mighty and punish the common people. At this moment, whether it was the dark, penetrating grass or the thunder martial vein, they were the bane of the hairy zombie. They were suppressing it. Woo woo! However, this hairy zombie was extraordinarily strong. It was more than enough to contend with a martial royal realm expert in the outside world. At this moment, although the dark, penetrating grass and the thunder martial vein were suppressing it, they were unable to completely suppress it. The hairy zombie kept roaring, and the sound was ear-piercing. It resounded through the mountain range, and the black fog surged. Du Xiaofu could feel that the hairy zombie was resisting with all its might, and it was difficult for him to suppress it. However, once the hairy zombie broke free, Du Xiaofu knew that he would not have the chance to suppress it again. "Father, let me help you." At this moment, little Xingxing flew out. His golden eyes were filled with golden light, and his small body was overflowing with green light. The starlight fluctuated, and a pair of thin purple wings spread out. Then little Xingxing's small body started to expand in an instant. Roar! As little Xingxing's body expanded, a dragon's roar resounded through the space. Then little Xingxing's body became dozens of feet long. At this moment, although little Xingxing's body was flowing with starlight and had the aura of the golden winged rock, it was more of a terrifying supreme aura. Little Xingxing's body seemed to be the legendary real dragon, but it was not completely so. The pair of wings that had expanded to hundreds of feet were no longer as thin as a cicada's wings. Instead, they were like the feathers of a phoenix, and blazing red and purple flames spread out. Little Xingxing's wings flapped gently, and waves of blazing tornadoes rose in this mottled ancient land. A terrifying and strange pressure descended from little Xingxing's body. Dongli Diao, Shirtu, and Lin Weiqi were in a better state. They crawled up and rushed over while covered in blood. When they saw little Xingxing's body, they were shocked, especially under the terrifying and strange pressure. Shirtu and Lin Weiqi almost wanted to crawl. Under the strange pressure, Dongli Diao seemed to be under the greatest pressure. A pressure that came from the depths of his soul and bloodline caused him, who had just reached the martial emperor realm, to crawl on the ground. This is the aura of a demonic beast sovereign. Little Xingxing is a demonic beast sovereign. Dongli Diao was shocked, and his body could not help but tremble. Under such an aura, he was unable to resist the terrifying pressure. As his body was revealed, little Xingxing's huge body was like a huge dragon. 5 claws rose faintly under his body, and rune clouds appeared. The space between his eyebrows also strangely lit up, as if there was light shooting out, and it was about to form a third eye. Chi! In a short instant, another eye opened between little Xingxing's eyebrows. This time, it was vertical between his eyebrows. 3 eyes appeared at the same time, and a roar came out. Ayo! This roar was a real dragon's roar, and the sound turned into sound waves that spread out. Then, a terrifying light spread out from between little Xingxing's eyebrows and directly covered the body of the powerful furry zombie that was suppressed by the thunderbolt and the dark, penetrating grass. At this moment, the powerful furry zombie finally revealed a terrified expression. Woo woo! Under the cover of the terrifying light of little Xingxing's third eye, it let out a painful cry. Is this little Xingxing's body? Du Xiaofu looked at little Xingxing's body and was stunned. He had always thought that this little ingrate did not have any reaction. He did not expect it to be so terrifying when it suddenly attacked. At this moment, he felt the aura from little Xingxing's body. That aura seemed to draw out the aura of the golden-winged roc from Du Xiaofu's body. Faintly, Du Xiaofu felt a sense of fear, and a prideful aura that wanted to fight surged out from his blood. Woo woo! The powerful furry zombie made its final struggle. A churning black evil aura swept out, and even the energy in all directions shook. A vast and terrifying aura spread from within its body, and an evil aura surged. At this moment, it was unleashing all of its strength. At the same time, little Xingxing's hundreds of feet large body had already arrived in front of the furry zombie in an instant. An enormous and complicated aura spread from its body. Chi La, the enormous tail on little Xingxing's back, seemed to carry a reddish-purple flame. It instantly pulled down from the sky and heavily smashed downwards, tearing through space. Chi La, little Xingxing's enormous tail, carried a frightening symbol energy wave as it shot out. It also contained an enormous pressure. The suppressed furry zombie did not have the time to dodge and was directly swept away. Bang! It was as though a meteorite had struck downwards, and a deafening sonic boom instantly erupted in the surrounding sky. A large area of broken walls appeared to be unable to withstand the wind, and directly cracked into powder in the surroundings. Bang! One could see with the naked eye that this enormous tail of little Xingxing's began to crack, and bloodstains began to appear on the body of the furry zombie. Its body was also directly rushed down from the large hall. Is this little Xingxing's strength? Du Xiaofu watched from the side. While his heart was shocked, he was also extremely happy. Woo, woo! The furry zombie howled towards the sky. Its woo-woo sound appeared to be a miserable cry, and it also appeared to be calling for something. The furry zombie's voice penetrated through space, and a deafening sound reverberated in the sky where black fog was churning. As the furry zombie's woo-woo sound was emitted, the golden coffin immediately began to tremble. Black fog churned, and the surrounding symbols flashed. It seemed that something unexpected was about to happen. This is bad. Du Xiaofu was worried when he saw this scene. At this instant, his body rushed out with lightning speed and borrowed the momentum to launch a lightning fist that violently landed on the furry zombie's body. Bang! The frightening lightning strength directly sent the furry zombie flying. Its body once again fell heavily, shattering a large area of broken walls. Dark, penetrating grass. Du Xiaofu once again urged the dark, penetrating grass to suppress it. This furry zombie's physical body was truly terrifying. Chi La, little Xingxing's enormous body, pressed down from the sky. There were strange golden scales on her body that seemed to be spreading golden flames. A violent aura raged. Her enormous tail swept across the sky, and with a claw, she heavily tore the furry zombie's abdomen. Poochie, the originally tyrannical hairy zombie, at this time, under the joint efforts of the father and daughter, was torn apart and eaten. Ka! The aftermath of the claw spread, and the ground immediately cracked. Gravel surged in all directions. A corpse core was grabbed by little Xingxing. A frightening energy fluctuation and a dark aura spread out like a demonic sun. Retrieve! Du Xiaofu was already prepared. He stepped into the air, and with lightning dancing around his body, he rushed into the sky. With a claw, he immediately grabbed the corpse core in his hand. Little Yu did not slack off. There was a problem with the computer, and there was no place to fix it during the new year. Little Yu learned how to fix the system yesterday, and on the first day of the new year, he stayed up all night until now to patch up the chapters. If there is anything that has affected the brothers, please forgive me. Little Yu will update today around evening. Chapter 888. I'll swallow you. Little Xing Xing shouted. His huge body once again swooped down. A complex pressure suppressed the world and suppressed the hairy zombie that had lost its corpse core. Then, when little Xing Xing opened his mouth, there was a faint golden flame that rose up. The burning aura was extremely terrifying. Then, little Xing Xing opened his ferocious mouth and directly swallowed the hairy zombie into his stomach. Boom! It was also at this moment that a loud bang suddenly resounded throughout the damaged hall. Endless light had erupted from the golden coffin in the center of the palace. Dazzling runes flooded the space, making it hard for people to open their eyes and look directly at it. The faint golden corpse core was directly swallowed by the golden coffin. Then, the golden coffin emitted a dazzling light. When the light dissipated, Du Xiaofu, little Xing Xing, Stone, Lin Weiqi, Dongli Diao, and the others discovered that there was a young man who slowly stood up from the golden light and floated above the golden coffin. It was a man who looked to be in his 30s. His face was cold and handsome, and he had a pair of deep black eyes. His thick eyebrows were slightly raised in a rebellious manner. He wore a light purple robe, and the color was not much different from the purple soft armor on Du Xiaofu's body. However, the faint purple robe on the young man's body made him look extremely elegant and graceful. The man's hair was tied up high, and his long hair flowed down his back like flowing water. His head was slightly raised, and his handsome side profile was flawless. What a beautiful man! Although Lin Weiqi's eyes were dark and her heart was tense, she couldn't help but praise this man. This man was even more handsome than Dongli Diao, especially the complex aura on his body. It was like a black hole that made people captivated. It still doesn't work. Just a bit more. Just a bit more. Is it really impossible to succeed in here? After the man finished speaking, his gaze suddenly fell on little Xing Xing's huge dragon body. There was surprise in his deep black eyes as he said in surprise, "The aura of a true dragon. You're actually the descendant of a true dragon." After he finished speaking, the man's eyes wavered as if he was thinking about something. Then he said, "Maybe your true dragon blood can help me break through. There should be a chance." As the man muttered to himself, he waved his hand and an endless black aura surrounded him. His black eyes became even darker as he looked at little Xing Xing and said, "Descendant of a true dragon, I'm going to take your blood today. Remember, I'm called Jiangqin." What an arrogant zombie. Little Xing Xing's young and tender voice cried out. Suddenly, its ferocious dragon head roared. It opened its mouth, and a golden flame that was dozens of feet long suddenly spurted out from its mouth. The terrifying temperature seemed to want to burn the space. Facing the golden flames in little Xing Xing's mouth, Du Xiaofu's expression changed. The golden flames were even stronger than Lin Weiqi's raging flame, martial vein. Even his own purple flame, demonic phoenix flame, seemed inferior. Jiangqin suddenly raised his head and waved his hand. A majestic black aura suddenly turned into a wave and strangely collided with little Xing Xing's golden flames. It was actually able to resist the golden flames. As expected of a true dragon bloodline, the man said. His deep eyes flickered. The black aura that covered the sky fluctuated like dark clouds. The terrifying aura once again engulfed little Xing Xing's golden flames. When the golden flames collided for the second time, they were immediately defeated and drowned in the black runes. Sizzle! The black aura turned into a huge wave and swept towards little Xing Xing. Roar! Little Xing Xing roared. The dragon's roar shook the sky. He spread his wings, and another terrifying flame rose. This was not a golden flame, but a scarlet flame. Its power was not inferior to the golden flames. Scarlet flames swept out, rolling and enveloping little Xing Xing's enormous body. It was like the most beautiful fireworks. But beneath the brilliance was a destructive aura that could incinerate all things. Whoosh! The terrifying black aura rune surged. Its aura was too tyrannical. It destroyed the scarlet flames around little Xing Xing and attempted to envelop him. The blazing flames were destroyed. Purple flames and starlight once again rose from little Xing Xing's enormous body, illuminating the sky. Jiangqin's eyes flashed with astonishment. Then he smiled. His smile was enchanting. A palm imbued with black aura descended. Rumble! The black palm dissipated the purple flames and starlight. The broken walls of the palace exploded one after another. The black palm continued to descend, like a giant spatial hand descending from the sky. It distorted space and suddenly enveloped little Xing Xing's enormous body. Let's work together and fight. Dongli Diao, Stone, and Lin Weiqi shouted. They used the last of their celestial qi to condense their strongest attacks and rushed towards the man. Bang! 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 However, as soon as Stone, Lin Weiqi, and Dongli Diao approached, they were violently thrown from the sky by the shock waves of the attack. Stone, Lin Weiqi, and Dongli Diao all fell miserably. Fortunately, this was only the shock waves of the attack. Otherwise, the three of them could only imagine what would have happened to them. Dark Hole Grass. Divine Thunderstorm. Du Xiaofu's gaze was incomparably solemn. He activated the Dark Hole Grass and Divine Thunderstorm, which were most effective against zombies. At almost the same time, he attacked the self-proclaimed Jiangqin zombie. I didn't expect a human like you to be so special. If you submit to me, you'll definitely become even stronger, Jiangqin said to Jiangqin. He didn't pay too much attention to Du Xiaofu. With a twist of his hand seals, a terrifying black aura swept out. He gave up on little Xing Xing and sent his hand seals crashing down on Du Xiaofu. Under the suppression of the dark hole grass and lightning, Jiangqin's overwhelming aura completely destroyed Du Xiaofu's attack. It was like swatting a fly. Then it slapped Du Xiaofu's body down, sending him crashing into the messy, rocky ground. Dad, little Star's young and tender voice roared loudly. Golden light burst out from her huge dragon body in the surging black fog. She hovered in the clouds and looked down. Suddenly, the third vertical giant eye in between her eyebrows opened strangely. A terrifying barrier of light that could make one's soul tremble shot out from little Xing Xing's third eye, enveloping the entire area. Aho! The faint roar of a dragon seemed to resound from within the curtain of light. At this moment, Jiangqin's deep eyes revealed a hint of fear as he was enveloped by the curtain of light. A vast black aura gushed out, carrying a strange pressure as it resisted the curtain of light. It's too strong. We're in big trouble now. Du Xiaofu climbed out of the rubble in a sorry state. With his abnormal defensive power, his injuries weren't serious, but they weren't light either. Blood flowed from the corners of his mouth. From the attack just now, Du Xiaofu was certain that Jiangqin's strength was comparable to that of Lei Zuin of the Divine Light Court. This was a terrifying and ferocious zombie that was on par with a venerable level expert. Buzz, buzz! The black aura surged in the sky. Suddenly, the purple-gold heavenly tower behind Du Xiaofu began to vibrate again, emitting a faint hiss. This is really troublesome. Could it be that misfortune never comes alone? Du Xiaofu's face immediately turned pale. From his new artifact spirit connection, it wasn't difficult for Du Xiaofu to know that the soul of the murderous weapon in the purple-gold heavenly tower had begun to move violently again. Ever since they entered the sealed ancient land, the soul of the murderous weapon in the purple-gold heavenly tower had been struggling more and more violently. It had reached a point where it could no longer be contained. The bloodline of a true dragon is indeed terrifying, but your strength is still too low. Jiangqin spoke again from within the curtain of little Xing Xing's third eye. With a wave of his hand, the black fog around his body entered the space. A claw mark appeared, and a wave of black aura pressed down on this part of the world. Chi, 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 chi. The claw mark tore through the space and tore little Xingxing's energy curtain to pieces. Little Xingxing immediately spat out a mouthful of blood, which spilled into the air. The blood of a true dragon. I want it. Jiangchen growled as he looked at the blood that little Xingxing had spat out. There was an irresistible temptation in his eyes. Surging murderous aura immediately swept across the world, enveloping little Xingxing. Buzz! It was also at this moment that the sound of wind and thunder resounded through the murderous aura space. Chapter 889. The sound of wind and thunder shook one's soul. It was like the roar of a dragon, the roar of a tiger, the cry of a bird, and the cry of a turtle. Zombie Jiangchen paused for a moment in the face of this clamor. He looked down at the ground below. At this moment, behind Du Xiaofu, the square box on his back trembled and exploded. A divine weapon rushed out from within. Boom! All of a sudden, the entire space rumbled and trembled violently. The mountains in this valley were on the verge of collapsing, and cracks appeared on the ground. Roar! The divine weapon was dazzling. Its body was wide and purple gold, like the bones of a tiger or dragon. Inscriptions of the azure dragon and black tortoise flashed around the blade. The tiger on the hilt roared and looked like it was about to pounce. Dazzling talisman inscriptions shot up from the sword. Its power was like an erupting volcano. The roar of a dragon, the roar of a tiger, the cry of a bird, and the cry of a turtle were accompanied by the sound of wind and thunder. Roar! The heavenly palace of purple gold floated in midair. It was like a powerful demon god had awakened. It looked down on the world and could destroy everything. Is that the item that the young master has been carrying on his back? Sure, Tu Lin Weiqi and Dongli Diao climbed out of the rubble. They looked at the divine weapon, wrapped in talisman inscriptions. Their eyes trembled. Zombie Jiangchen's gaze flickered as he stared at the strange divine weapon. This was the heavenly palace of purple gold on Du Xiaofu's back. The heavenly palace of purple gold was not being used by Du Xiaofu. Instead, it had broken free of its suppression. Through the new weapon spirit in the heavenly palace of purple gold, Du Xiaofu could sense that the soul of the divine weapon was doing something evil. It seemed to want to devour the black aura on Jiang Chen's body to strengthen itself. Finally, it could break free from the suppression of his master's primordial spirit. Roar! As soon as the heavenly palace of purple gold appeared, the roar of a dragon, the roar of a tiger, the cry of a bird, and the cry of a turtle filled the air. The dazzling talisman inscriptions on the sword shone with dazzling light. The faint silhouettes of an azure dragon soared into the sky. A white tiger, a phoenix, and the black tortoise pounced on Jiangchen. In that instant, Jiangchen's deep, dark eyes finally revealed a grave expression. He ignored little Xingxing and Du Xiaofu. With a wave of his hand, a black aura, the heavenly palace of purple gold. BZZ. The heavenly palace of purple gold was. The heavenly palace of purple gold was filled with the howls of gods and demons. And two terrifying forces clashed as if they were about to tear apart the sky. Bang! Bang, 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 bang. Jiangchen's, Jiangchen's, God, Jiangchen's, Jiang, finally Jiang's. Boom, boom, boom. Rocks toppled and shattered. It was as if the heavens were falling and the earth was shattering. The heavenly palace of purple gold was filled with a fiendish aura that made Lin Weiqi, Stone, and Dongli Diao tremble. Du Xiaofu's gaze was grave to the extreme. He stared at the sky, whether Jiang Qinwen or the heavenly palace of purple gold. Du Xiaofu knew that in the end he would be the one in the most trouble. Whoosh! Fiendish aura filled the air. Dazzling fiendish runes enveloped the area, causing it to tremble violently. Mountains crumbled and the earth cracked. It was as if there was an earthquake. What's going on up ahead? What a terrifying fiendish aura. An expert is fighting. Could it be that the artifact Emperor Qiao Feng has met his match? Far away in the valley, the profound talisman sect and the others had finally arrived. They stared at the distant valley in shock. Fiendish aura filled the sky. The earth shook and the mountains shook. For a moment they paused, not daring to get too close. The terror of the army of spirit beasts, not long ago, still lingered in their hearts. The clash between the heavenly palace of purple gold and the heavenly palace of purple gold had finally come to an end. In the end, the powerful Jiangqin had been suppressed by the heavenly palace of purple gold. Within the heavenly palace of purple gold, a terrifying, fiendish aura rippled. While suppressing Jiangqin, it also devoured the surrounding fiendish aura into the sword. Jiangqin's expression finally changed. The fiendish aura was even stronger than his. Jiangqin was currently suppressed. All he could do was resist. He couldn't use any of his other techniques. He'd already pushed his aura to the limit. Fiendish aura swept out, causing the sky to tremble. Artifact Sovereign, how much longer can your nascent spirit trap me? The heavens are helping me. The heavens are helping me. A roar echoed from within the heavenly palace of purple gold, accompanied by gusts of wind and thunder. Go! Jiangqin roared. A faint golden corpse, core the size of an infant's, fist flew out of his mouth. The corpse core glowed with dazzling golden runes, like fireworks. A fiendish aura swept out, as if from the nine hells. It wanted to break free of the heavenly palace of purple gold suppression. Devour! Cried the soul of the heavenly palace of purple gold. Fiendish aura swept out, as if from the realm of demons. Fiendish aura surged into the heavens, shattering the heavens. In the end, the heavenly palace of purple gold swallowed Jiangqin's corpse core as well. It disappeared into the sword. Uffed! Jiangqin spat out a mouthful of blood-like liquid. He gritted his teeth, as if he'd used his final trump card. His aura swept out, causing fiendish winds to howl in the sky. Dark clouds filled the sky, and the fiendish aura was like black lightning. It stirred up enormous waves in the air, then slammed into the heavenly palace of purple gold. Bang! Bang! Under the violent impact, the fiendish aura shattered the illusory azure dragon and black tortoise, causing the heavenly palace of purple gold to fall to the ground. The heavenly palace of purple gold emitted a buzzing sound, then fell beside Du Xiaofu. Its tip pierced into the ground, causing it to crack and crumble into fine powder. Uffed! Jiangqin spat out another mouthful of blood-like liquid and stumbled to the ground. He staggered backward, then steadied himself. His aura was much weaker now. The terrifying fiendish aura and fiendish aura all around him began to dissipate. Even the black aura that had originally covered the sky slowly dissipated. Du Xiaofu picked up the heavenly palace of purple gold. From the new artifact spirit, he learned that the soul of the heavenly palace of purple gold had suddenly calmed down, as if it was being suppressed by the seal within. However, Jiangqin's corpse core had indeed fallen into the heavenly palace of purple gold and was emanating a fiendish aura. The soul of the heavenly palace of purple gold wanted to devour the fiendish aura within the corpse core, but it seemed to be suppressed by the seal once more. Du Xiaofu frowned slightly. Just now, the heavenly palace of purple gold had suddenly erupted with power to suppress Jiangqin. It wanted to devour the fiendish aura within Jiangqin's body to strengthen itself and break through the seal his master, the artifact sovereign, had placed with his nascent spirit. Perhaps the soul of the heavenly palace of purple gold had been secretly hiding its energy source for the past few years, waiting to break free of the seal. Unfortunately, it had used up all of its energy when fighting over Jiangqin's corpse core. After all, Jiangqin wasn't easy to deal with. Your corpse core is gone. Now it's your turn to suffer. Seeing that Jiangqin's corpse core was gone, Little Star was undoubtedly the most excited of all. Its enormous body swept towards Jiangqin. Without his corpse core, Jiangqin's strength had dropped by more than a level. He was probably only comparable to a peak martial king. How could he possibly be a match for Little Star? Under Little Star's ferocious attacks, Jiangqin slammed repeatedly into the ruins of the heavenly palace of purple gold. He was in an extremely sorry state and couldn't even escape. Bang! Little Star's tail whipped Jiangqin once again, sending him flying through the rubble. This was Jiangqin. He had the body of a zombie and was the emperor of zombies. His physical strength was comparable to Du Xiaofu's. If it were anyone else, they would have been crushed to pieces by Little Star long ago. You're pretty good at taking a beating. Little Star had been incredibly sullen at Jiangqin's hands. Now that he finally had an opportunity, he naturally wanted to take revenge. He had no intention of letting Jiangqin off the hook. Once again, he pounced on Jiangqin. Stay your hand. We can make a deal with you. Although he was in a sorry state, his gaze was still deep and dark. His face was covered in dust, but his features were sharp and cold. Little Star, he said as he walked out of the rubble and looked at the little star. Although he was in a sorry state, his eyes were still dark and his face was covered in dust. A deal. When Little Star heard this, his golden eyes pondered for a moment. Then he turned to look at Du Xiaofu. Father, this zombie says he can make a deal with us. My name is Jiangqin, not a zombie. When Jiangqin heard Little Star's words, he raised his head slightly, revealing the perfect contours of his face. What kind of deal do you want to make? Du Xiaofu put away the heavenly palace of purple gold. His brows furrowed as he walked up to Jiangqin and looked him in the eye. By now, Jiangqin's corpse core had been absorbed into the heavenly palace of purple gold. His strength had plummeted. Du Xiaofu relaxed. At the very least, this zombie Jiangqin wouldn't be a threat for the time being. I can give you all the treasures here. They'll be of great use to you. But in exchange, you have to return my corpse core. Jiangqin looked at Du Xiaofu. Although his faint purple robes were tattered, his temperament was the same. Above his deep, jet-black eyes, his thick eyebrows rose rebelliously, as if they were innately proud. Chapter 890. When he heard this, Du Xiaofu froze. He glanced at the numerous talisman weapons, Dao weapons, cosmos pouches, and other items scattered about the ruins of the palace. His gaze flickered, and he looked up at little Xingxing. Don't negotiate with him. Just kill him. These things are ours, anyway. All right. Little Xingxing nodded bluntly. His aura surged as he prepared to attack again. Wait, shouted Jiangqin. He looked at Du Xiaofu with a complicated expression. His hair, which had been tied up high, no longer flowed down his back like flowing water. Instead, it was extremely disheveled. Jiangqin gritted his teeth and said to Du Xiaofu, Your weapon doesn't seem to be yours. At least, you haven't completely controlled it. My corpse core can sense that there's a powerful seal inside your weapon, suppressing the weapon's spirit. But once the weapon's spirit devours my corpse core, it'll be able to break through the seal. When that happens, the first one to suffer will definitely be you. Jiangqin paused for a moment, then said to Du Xiaofu, Give me back my corpse core, and we'll stay out of each other's way. How about it? You know that I can't control my weapon. How am I supposed to give your corpse core back to you? Said Du Xiaofu coolly. Even if he could take out the corpse core, he absolutely wouldn't give it to Jiangqin. Once Jiangqin took back his corpse core, he'd be the one to suffer again. Father, this zombie's corpse core has left its body. It won't be able to live for much longer. Its vitality will grow weaker and weaker. In the end, it'll become an ordinary corpse. Little Xingxing gloated at Jiangqin's misfortune. After all, Jiangqin had suppressed him from the start. Jiangqin gazed at the violet gold heavenly tower in Du Xiaofu's hand. He seemed to be deep in thought. Then he said, There will always be a way to take out the corpse core. My corpse core can sense that you've placed a weapon spirit within the weapon, but it's still very weak. It can't compare to the original weapon spirit. I have a way to strengthen your new weapon spirit, As long as your new weapon spirit is strengthened, it will be able to suppress the original weapon spirit. Then you'll be able to completely control the weapon and return my corpse core to me. You have a way to strengthen the weapon spirit? When he heard Jiang Qin's words, Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered. His master, the sovereign artifact, had said the same thing. He had to strengthen the weapon spirits as quickly as possible. Only then would they be able to work together to deal with the souls of the murderous weapons. However, there were no shortcuts to strengthening the weapon spirit. One could only rely on oneself to slowly nurture the weapon spirit and make it stronger. Of course I have a way. The chances of success are extremely high. My corpse core is still in your weapon. Do you think I'd joke around with you? Jiang Qin looked at Du Xiaofu seriously. I know of a place where there's something inside that can strengthen your weapon spirit. Do you think I'd believe you? A faint smile appeared in Du Xiaofu's eyes under the mask. Although this Jiang Qin zombie was only a zombie, its intelligence was not inferior to the top of the human race. Inside here, no one can use external forces. Even if you know of a place that can strengthen the weapon spirit, I'm afraid that as soon as I use my weapon, I'll be attacked by the seal, said Du Xiaofu in a low voice. That place is completely different. Believe it or not, if you let the old weapon spirit within your weapon consume my corpse core, then neither of us will be able to escape. Jiang Qin looked at Du Xiaofu seriously. A complex aura emanated from his body. His eyes were like black holes, mesmerizing. At least for now, I'm safe and sound, said Du Xiaofu. I'll think of a way to resolve this crisis. As for your corpse core, it's gone. I'm afraid you won't be able to hold on much longer. Jiang Qin looked at Du Xiaofu, then raised his head slightly. His jet-black eyes glinted with arrogance. You're right. My corpse core has left my body. At most, I can live for a year. At the same time, my life force will grow weaker and weaker, and my strength will grow weaker and weaker. In the end, my corpse core will be consumed, so it's better to self-detonate. However, even if my corpse core explodes, your weapon is extraordinary. Even if it doesn't destroy itself, the seal will be greatly affected. It'll be enough to force the old weapon spirit out. When that happens, you'll be dead for sure. Jiang Qin looked at Du Xiaofu, his arrogant expression filled with confidence. No one can threaten me. Jiang Qin. Father, this guy really can self-detonate his corpse core, said little Xingxing worriedly. Junior Hall Master. Lin Weiqi, Stone, and Dong Li Diao, who were riddled with scars and looked miserable, climbed to their feet. When they heard Jiang Qin's words, they were shocked and worried for Du Xiaofu. If you're not afraid of death, then self-detonate your corpse core. When Du Xiaofu heard this, he smiled faintly and looked at Jiang Qin. Besides, even if your corpse core explodes, you're dead for sure. Whether or not I'll die is still unknown. When he heard Du Xiaofu's words, Jiang Qin's expression changed again. His jet-black eyes flashed with astonishment. For the first time, he looked seriously at Du Xiaofu. A moment later, he said, Human, I underestimated you. You're different from what I imagined, said Du Xiaofu with a faint smile. Tell me, what do you want in return for my corpse core? Asked Jiang Qin. If you want my corpse core, it's not impossible. Du Xiaofu looked at Jiang Qin. He was indeed worried. He couldn't let the evil weapon's soul devour Jiang Qin's corpse core. He really did want to strengthen his own weapon spirit, his gaze inwardly trembling. Du Xiaofu continued, In the outside world, I have elders in the sect who will arrange to deal with the evil spirit in my weapon. All I need to do is strengthen my weapon spirit. I just don't know if you'll be able to leave this seal when the time comes. Everything inside this seal can't leave, but I'm different. I have the body of a zombie. Ordinary seals are useless against me, although this seal isn't ordinary as long as I enter your bag of the universe. You'll be able to take me out. Jiang Qin looked at Du Xiaofu. There's no time to lose. I'll take you to strengthen your weapon spirit. I'm very familiar with this place, and only I know where it is. However, humans have never been reliable. Remember your promise. I'll help you strengthen your weapon spirit, but when the time comes, you'll have to return my corpse core. Otherwise, I absolutely won't let you off the hook." Beneath his mask, Du Xiaofu's eyes glowed. If he didn't take Jiangqin out, he definitely wouldn't be able to strengthen his weapon spirit. What's more, in the end, if Jiangqin really did self-detonate his corpse core, he'd be in real trouble. And if he took Jiangqin out and had to return his corpse core, Du Xiaofu was worried. Given Jiangqin's strength and terrifying methods, if he did evil in the outside world, he'd definitely cause great suffering. So Du Xiaofu was conflicted. He didn't know what to do. After a moment, Du Xiaofu nodded at Jiangqin. "I can promise you that when I make a promise, I'll definitely keep it. But you also have to promise me that when we leave the outside world and you get your corpse core back, if you dare to do evil in the outside world, I definitely won't let you off the hook." Du Xiaofu had been deep in thought. He'd thought about the outside world. Although Jiangqin was strong, his eldest uncle, Quangzun, and second uncle, Feiyu, were more than enough to suppress him. Perhaps, when the time came, he could let his eldest uncle handle Jiangqin. Then he'd strengthen his weapon spirit and wouldn't go back on his word. When he saw Du Xiaofu's promise, Jiangqin's jet-black eyes flickered. He nodded slightly. "So we're not going to fight anymore?" Seeing that Jiangqin and Du Xiaofu had reached an agreement, little Xingxing reluctantly shrank back into his enormous body. In the end, he shrank back down to the size of a small snake and continued coiling around Du Xiaofu's shoulder. His golden eyes twinkled, and his aura was noble and fiendish. "Is everything all right now?" Dongli Jiao, Stone, and Lin Weiqi exchanged glances, astonishment in their eyes. They hadn't imagined that, after a life-and-death struggle, they'd managed to reach an agreement with the zombie Jiangqin so quickly. "Dad, it looks like someone's coming." Suddenly, little Xingxing's golden eyes flickered. He'd sensed quite a few people rushing over. When he heard little Xingxing and Du Xiaofu call each other names, Jiangqin looked puzzled, but he didn't ask any questions. "Collect the items," Du Xiaofu said to Stone, Dongli Diao, and Lin Weiqi. Without further ado, the four of them collected the Dao artifacts, treasures, and pouches of the cosmos. Jiangqin looked at the four of them, his jet-black eyes flickering. Outside the valley, the disciples of the Seven-Star Hall, Sun Wu, and the others watched the terrifying commotion unfold, worried for the four people who'd entered. Whoosh, whoosh. In the distance, thousands of figures rushed over, bringing with them the sound of rushing wind. In a few flashes, they appeared in the valley. As they landed, Sun Wu and the others' expressions changed slightly. They were the disciples of the profound Talisman sect and their allies. Figures landed one after another, along with their auras, after which many pairs of eyes looked towards the broken walls and ruins within the valley. Junior's sister, Zhu Shui, the commotion just now should have come from here. A young martial marquis from the profound Talisman sect glanced at Sun Wu and the others, then said to Zhu Shui, "Chen, Yen didn't see the artifact Emperor Qiao Feng in the crowd, nor did she see the other strongest members of the Seven-Star Hall." Her expression immediately changed. There must be treasures inside. The Seven-Star Hall must have obtained them. The artifact Emperor Qiao Feng, Dongli Diao, Lin Weiqi, and the others aren't here. Did they go looking for treasures? We fought the evil spirit army and suffered many casualties. If there are treasures, we can't let the Seven-Star Hall take them all for themselves. Some people in the crowd were in an uproar. Their voices grew louder and louder. In the end, many people wanted to charge directly into the valley. If anyone dares to take a step forward, don't blame us for being impolite. Sun Wu stepped forward. A powerful aura surged out of his body, shaking the air. Chapter 891. Boom! The auras of Tao Yu, Wuma Sheng, Yu Mingyuan, and the others surged. The powerful aura that gathered together immediately intimidated many people in the crowd. The Seven-Star Hall is so mighty. Do you think you can stop us? You are just a mantis trying to stop a chariot. The seven-star hall is nothing in front of the profound talisman sect. Chen Yen stepped forward with a cold look in his eyes. However, his face was pale. He did not know why, but after the great battle with the evil spirits, although he had suffered some minor injuries and used up a lot of energy, he had slowly recovered after consuming some elixirs. However, Chen Yen discovered that his complexion was still very poor. He even felt a chill beginning to spread within his body from time to time. Tao Yu opened his mouth with a cold glint in his eyes. However, just as he opened his mouth, a hand gently landed on his shoulder. A figure stealthily appeared beside him and said, "If they want to go up, let them." The figure was wearing a purple soft armor. The eyes under the mask were looking at the people in front of him. His eyes were clear and bright. After which, he looked at Chen Yen, and a domineering look flashed across his eyes. He said in a deep voice, "The seven-star hall does not need to compare with the profound talisman sect. For people like you who only know how to talk about the profound talisman sect and rely on the name of the profound talisman sect to protect you, you should be careful not to embarrass the profound talisman sect. For the sake of the profound talisman sect, I will let you go this time." After Du Xiaofu's voice sounded, Chen Yen trembled under his gaze. His eyes were gloomy and filled with hatred. However, he did not dare to say anything else. After all, Du Xiaofu had killed Xiao Hui, a martial emperor, on the Divine Lightning Mountain Range. He was not afraid of the Divine Light Court. Therefore, Chen Yen was afraid of him. Du Xiaofu's words were undoubtedly sharp. When they landed in the ears of the profound talisman sect's disciples, they naturally felt uncomfortable. Even the disciples of the profound talisman sect, who didn't have much of a relationship with Chen Yen, felt uncomfortable in their hearts. After all, they were all from the same sect. A martial emperor from the profound talisman sect was just about to speak to Du Xiaofu when Zhu Shui waved her hand to stop him. Her gaze was curiously fixed on Du Xiaofu. At the same time, Dong Lidiao, Lin Weiqi, and Stone also appeared in the seven-star hall. The three men were riddled with wounds. Wu Ma Sheng, Tao Yu, and the others immediately stepped forward to support them. When Jiang Chen walked over, not many people noticed him. "Let's go first," Du Xiaofu said to the people behind him. At any rate, they had already obtained what they needed. At that moment, Dong Lijiao, Lin Weiqi, Rockhead, and the others were all heavily injured. He and Little Star were also injured. They needed to find a place to heal. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Sun Tian, Dong Lijiao, and the others immediately decided to leave. "Did the seven-star hall obtain the treasure here?" muttered a young man in the crowd when he saw that the disciples of the seven-star hall were about to leave. "Did the seven-star hall obtain the treasure? Don't tell me they want to just walk away like that." "We fought with the evil spirit army and suffered countless casualties. The seven-star hall monopolized the treasure. This is too unreasonable. Leave the treasure behind and let's split it equally. The seven-star hall can't monopolize it. I think the seven-star hall deliberately lured those evil spirits out to deal with us. Otherwise, why didn't the seven-star hall suffer any casualties?" As someone muttered, a lot of cheers broke out from the crowd. Many people immediately looked at the disciples of the seven-star hall with red eyes. It was as if they had seen the disciples of the seven-star hall snatch the treasure that originally belonged to them. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The low sound of energy breaking through the wind resounded. Several flashes of lightning flashed, and a few lightning fingerprints accompanied by a murderous aura filled the air. Bang, bang, bang. Low and deep sonic booms exploded. There were a total of 5 explosions, and 5 clouds of blood mist exploded. The 5 youths, who were the most rowdy, had bloody holes pierced through their foreheads or their chests by the lightning fingerprints in an instant. Soon after, the bodies of the 5 youths exploded in the lightning arcs. They didn't even know how they died. The crowd dispersed, and the noise from before instantly became strangely quiet. The 5 youths were all extraordinary. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dared to be so arrogant. They were all martial kings and were the top youths of some small and medium-sized forces. However, the 5 martial king youths were instantly killed at the same time. They didn't have any power to resist. The scattered crowd was vigilant. Then, all of their gazes simultaneously landed on the body of the weapon emperor, Xiaofeng. The purple soft armor on his body was still rippling with frightening lightning. The one who attacked just now was undoubtedly him. Even if I obtain the treasure, what does it have to do with you? You can look for yourselves, and I will look for mine. When has it ever had anything to do with you? A cold fluctuation rippled in Du Xiaofu's clear eyes under the mask. A domineering aura spread out. He looked at the crowd in front of him and coldly said, "Don't blame me for not warning you. If anyone dares to provoke me again, don't blame me for being impolite." Jiang Qin stood off to the side, watching Du Xiaofu mercilessly slaughter the 5 youths. His eyes flickered slightly. "Xiaofeng, you've gone too far. Do you not put our profound talisman sect in your eyes?" A martial king youth from the profound talisman sect finally couldn't help but shout. Xiaofeng had killed several people. Although they weren't disciples of the profound talisman sect, it was undoubtedly embarrassing for the profound talisman sect. Du Xiaofu looked at the youth who had spoken and said, "I don't want to have any grudges with the profound talisman sect. These people aren't worth the profound talisman sect's attention." After he spoke, profound chi surged under Du Xiaofu's feet. His figure immediately soared into the sky and left. Behind him, the disciples of the 7-star hall also left one by one. The surrounding crowd looked at each other with fear in their eyes. Although they were somewhat unwilling in their hearts, no one dared to say anything else. The weapon emperor, Xiaofeng, was extremely domineering. No one dared to provoke him again. This Xiaofeng is so overbearing and arrogant. The expression of the martial king youth from the profound talisman sect who had spoken earlier darkened. "Forget it. If he wants to leave, we can't stop him. Ask those people to disperse. There's no point in keeping them here. Let's go inside and see if we can find anything." After she spoke softly, Zhu Shui's beautiful figure appeared in front of them. "Everyone disperse. From now on, the profound talisman sect will no longer form an alliance with any of you," Guoming said to the surrounding crowd. Although there seemed to be a lot of people after the battle with the evil spirit army, Guoming knew that these people were just a bunch of mobs. They only knew how to take advantage of others. When they encountered danger, they would all run away. If they were in a critical situation, they would only be killed by these people. It was better to keep a distance from them. The profound talisman sect is indeed unreliable. They probably want to keep all the treasures they find for themselves. As Guoming's voice fell, the crowd also began to whisper quietly. "This place is hidden and very safe. As far as I know, there won't be any evil spirits nearby. You can rest assured and heal yourselves," Jiang Qin said to Du Xiaofu from within a secluded gorge. Du Xiaofu looked around. Indeed, he didn't sense any evil spirit aura. This place was very hidden. Because of Dongli Diao and Lin Weiqi, Stone was seriously injured. Both he and little Xingxing were injured, so Du Xiaofu had no choice but to find a secluded place to heal. Soon after, Jiang Qin led the group to this place. "Heal yourselves. I'll stay here and keep an eye on you. Even if some strange creatures try to barge in, as long as I'm here, they won't get close." Jiang Qin looked at Du Xiaofu, his smile as proud as ever. "Don't worry," he said coolly. "I don't want you to die. My corpse core is still in your weapon. If you die, it won't do me any good." Du Xiaofu looked at Jiang Qin. He hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Then, with Dongli Jiao, Lin Weiqi, and Stone, he entered the canyon. They entered a naturally formed cave. The cave was riddled with holes, revealing many glowing caverns. It was an extremely peculiar sight. This is a corpse core. After consuming it, there should be many benefits. However, you'll probably suffer a bit. Hopefully, it'll increase your cultivation. Let's heal ourselves first. Inside the cave, Du Xiaofu gave the first 3 corpse cores to Lin Weiqi, Dong Lidiao, and Stone. In the end, he had no choice but to remind Stone, Stone, these corpse cores contain an enormous amount of energy. You're only at the peak of the martial king realm, but your body is relatively strong. Whether you want to consume them or not is up to you. Du Xiaofu gave the corpse cores to Stone in front of Sun Wu and the others. These corpse cores were treasures, but they contained an enormous amount of energy. Although Sun Wu's cultivation wasn't much weaker than Stone's in terms of physical strength, Stone had a huge advantage. Heal yourself first. Stone took one of the corpse cores from Du Xiaofu's hands. After speaking, he directly stuffed it into his mouth. Then he left the cave and sat down cross-legged in a nearby cave. He began to heal himself while refining the corpse cores. After a while, Lin Weiqi and Dong Lidiao also left. Only Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing remained in the cave. Boom! The last corpse core appeared in Du Xiaofu's hand. This was the last corpse core he obtained from the old zombie. Its cultivation was comparable to a Nirvana realm martial king realm cultivator. Its strength was even more terrifying. Within the martial king realm, there weren't many people who could deal with the old zombie. When this corpse core appeared, the energy fluctuations caused the surrounding space to tremble slightly. Hiss! Little Xingxing flicked his tongue and raised his little head. His golden eyes stared at the corpse core with a greedy expression. Chapter 892. You've already eaten one. This one is your father's. Du Xiaofu turned around and glared at little Xingxing. His eyes were filled with shock. Du Xiaofu originally thought that little Xingxing was an ingrate. He thought that little Xingxing was a bottomless pit for spiritual herbs. However, it seemed that this little ingrate had indeed eaten so many spiritual herbs and was worthy of being the descendant of a true dragon. Not long after he was born, his strength was already so terrifying. He had countless tricks up his sleeves. Stingy, how can you snatch food from your daughter? Little Xingxing's golden eyes stared disdainfully at Du Xiaofu as she said angrily, I'm your father, so you have to listen to me. This is mine. Du Xiaofu said righteously as he looked at the energy spreading from the corpse core. Back then, the old zombie was comparable to the peak of the martial king realm. All of its energy came from this corpse core. Qi. Du Xiaofu opened his mouth and sucked the corpse core into his mouth. Du Xiaofu knew that it was urgent for him to increase his strength. There were some terrifying, evil spirits in the sealed ancient lands. They were even stronger than the rumors said. He needed to increase his strength to deal with them. Take Jiangqin, for example. If Jiangqin had been at his peak, perhaps not even all of the peak younger generation of the central continent would have been a match for him. As the corpse core was sucked into his mouth, Du Xiaofu activated the golden winged rock cultivation method and a golden light surged from his body. Du Xiaofu could suddenly feel a rich energy surging out from the corpse core and spreading throughout his body. This energy was extremely strange. It did not seem like ordinary energy. What was even more special was that even though the corpse core was filled with baleful qi, the energy was extremely pure. It was also of great help to the origin spirit and could even directly strengthen the power of the origin spirit. The density of the baleful qi would surpass even profound qi. At this time, Du Xiaofu didn't know that zombies, this kind of special evil spirit, mainly relied on devouring spirit and soul to strengthen themselves. Most of the energy gathered on the corpse core was also spirit and soul power. Therefore, to a spirit talisman master, the corpse core was also a treasure. However, if one wanted to obtain a zombie's corpse core in the outside world, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens. Zombies only existed in some ancient legends in the outside world. So how could one obtain a corpse core? Even if there were zombies in the outside world, Only the hairy zombies could condense corpse cores. That was a terrifying existence that was equivalent to a martial Emperor Realm cultivator or a beast Emperor Realm cultivator. The golden-winged rock cultivation technique was able to devour the flesh and blood of demonic beasts for its own use. Compared to the human cultivation technique, it was much more overbearing and tyrannical. Otherwise, it would not be able to devour the flesh and blood of other top demonic beasts without any scruples. At this moment, under the operation of the golden-winged rock cultivation technique, the corpse core was also treated as the flesh and blood of other top-grade monster beasts, absorbing and refining the energy. He didn't know if it was because of the golden-winged rock cultivation technique, but the energy of the corpse core was much easier to absorb than Du Xiaofu had imagined. Pure energy continuously gushed out from the corpse core, although it filled Du Xiaofu's body and caused Du Xiaofu's body to swell as if it was about to explode. For Du Xiaofu's body, it was enough to support it. The energy fluctuations were like a golden mist that rippled outside. In the end, it shrouded Du Xiaofu's body and enveloped Du Xiaofu's body, which was sitting cross-legged. Along with Du Xiaofu's breathing, the golden mist fluctuations were like a golden spirit snake that circulated around the surface of his body. How can I have such a stingy godfather? I wonder where my real father is now. Little Xingxing had already jumped to the side and looked at Du Xiaofu, who was shrouded in the golden mist. After rolling his golden eyes, there was some longing in his eyes. In the end, little Xingxing also began to cultivate. On his small body, there was a lot of light lingering on the surface of his body, and a lot of different energy fluctuations were fluctuating on his body. The light flickered and was colorful like a divine radiance, revealing the supreme aura of a monster beast. In the quiet and dim cave, time slowly passed, and the aura of the man and the dragon slowly strengthened. But if an outsider saw this kind of slowly strengthening aura, who knew how shocked they would be? To ordinary cultivators, the enhanced aura was like a flying arrow that shot up like a flying arrow. In the sealed ancient land, time slowly passed, and everyone continued to eliminate the evil spirits. It had been almost 3 months, and as everyone went deeper, more and more evil spirits appeared and became stronger. A large number of evil spirits were eliminated and countless people died. Of course, in this sealed ancient land, there would occasionally be news of people obtaining amazing treasures. It was rumored that some people found an expert's cave abode, and some people obtained natural treasures and broke through after consuming them. Among them, the most popular one in the sealed ancient land was undoubtedly a young man called Yi Piaoling, who obtained the inheritance of an ancient expert. There was also a mysterious young man from the beast race who obtained the inheritance of an ancient heavenly fox. Yi Piaoling and the mysterious young man from the beast race now had a common characteristic. Now, these two people not only had to face the terrifying evil spirits, but they also had to face the encirclement of everyone who wanted to obtain their inheritance. That kind of inheritance was an irresistible temptation to all cultivators. In the Abyss Canyon, black mist surged, and the aura fluctuated. A man in a light purple robe stood quietly like a statue. He slightly raised his head, and the outline of his face was perfect. Chi! Suddenly there was a fluctuation in the space, and the black mist surged, and 3 figures wrapped in the black mist appeared. They were 2 men and 1 woman. One was a thin, middle-aged man in a black robe. His body was faintly discernible, and he wore a black robe hat, revealing only a pair of blood-red eyes. The other was a burly man in black robes. His body was faintly discernible, and he had short red hair that resembled a mane. His eyes were suffused with blood-red light. The woman, on the other hand, looked extremely young. She seemed to be around 27 or 28 years old. She wore a bright red silk dress that trailed on the ground, and her beautiful black hair was tied up with a few bright red hair ribbons. Her entire face was bare of makeup, but she had a natural beauty that seemed to say, when pearls are still and unmoving, the impurities are gone and innocence is revealed. The woman's temperament was as elegant and pure as a budding lotus flower, but it also contained a hint of seductiveness. She was soft and gentle, but also firm and cold. When the three of them appeared, the space around them suddenly trembled. Once every 30 years. Aren't you busy with the final reel? Jiangqin turned his head and looked at the three people in front of him. His jet-black eyes rippled, and his rebellious eyebrows arched in a proud arc. I heard your corpse servants were destroyed. We came to take a look, said the woman. Her voice was like the sound of nature. Her bright red hair fluttered in the wind, and her slender figure was curvaceous and graceful. Although she was elegant and beautiful, her temperament was cold and elegant. They're just corpse servants. If I want, I can have countless of them, said Jiangqin. Jiangqin spoke, his eyes brimming with confidence. Do you really not plan on participating? The seal is already weakening. As long as we have enough energy, we'll be able to break through and leave. The woman took a few steps forward. Her steps were light and graceful, and the pendants on her bright red silk dress tinkled. Her jade-like skin was flushed red, and her eyes were boundlessly enchanting. Anyone who looked at them would be entranced. I told you long ago, said Jiangqin coolly, looking at the woman in the bright red dress. I'm not like you. We don't interfere with each other's business. If you don't disturb me, I won't meddle in your affairs. Jiangqin, you've been unable to advance any further. Inside the seal, it's hard for us to have a chance. If you join us, our chances will be even greater, said the burly man in black robes. Red light flashed in his eyes as he looked at Jiangqin. Those who walk different paths cannot make plans together, said Jiangqin. This is our last chance, an enormous one. We've been waiting for this day for so many years. Finally, the time has come. If we miss this opportunity, we'll have to wait another 30 years. By then, the humans will have made their preparations, said the black-robed, black-hooded, middle-aged man. Only his eyes were visible. His voice was cold and sinister, as if it came from the 9 hells. I won't participate. Do as you please. Jiangqin looked at the black-robed man. I won't say it again. You may leave. The woman, the burly man, and the middle-aged man looked at each other. Their eyes rippled with mysterious light. Then their bodies transformed into smoke and vanished without a trace. Phew! As soon as the 3 of them disappeared, Jiangqin exhaled deeply. Time slowly passed in the quiet space. To a cultivator, time was like flowing sand that silently vanished while they were regulating their breathing. It's already been 20 days. Why hasn't the junior pontiff come out yet? Senior brother Dongli Diao and senior sister Lin Weiqi haven't come out either. Where's Stone? That guy doesn't seem to have come out either. Within the chasm gorge, the disciples of the 7-star hall gathered together. 20 days had passed. They'd all taken medicinal pills to heal their injuries and had long since recovered. Only Lin Weiqi, Dongli Diao, Stone, and Du Xiaofu had yet to come out. Have you all recovered? Said a voice. It was sweet and clear. A woman in a fiery red dress emerged from a cave in the gorge. She descended in a graceful arc. Her beautiful face radiated a noble, heroic air. She was as beautiful as spring plum blossoms blooming with snow, as divine as autumn frost. It was impossible to look at her directly. Senior Sister Lin, we've all recovered. When they saw her, the 7-star hall disciples were delighted. It was Lin Weiqi. Chapter 893. Swish! As the crowd spoke, another figure flew out of a cave not far away. A handsome young man landed beside Lin Weiqi with a satisfied smile on his face. He seemed to be in a good mood. Lin Weiqi's beautiful eyes stared at the young man who just came out. Her eyes were filled with surprise, but there was no exception. She opened her mouth and asked, How far have you progressed? I just reached the peak. Once the opportunity comes, I might be able to break through to the mysterious realm. Dong Li Jiao looked at Lin Weiqi and felt the invisible energy fluctuations spreading out from the graceful figure. The corners of his mouth rose slightly as he said softly, "It seems that you have made great progress. I'm just a little bit away. I'm half a step into the mysterious realm." Lin Weiqi smiled. Boom! As Lin Weiqi's voice faded, a loud noise came from a cave not far away. It was as if the entire abyss was trembling. Lin Weiqi, Dongli Jiao, and the others looked in the direction of the ripples of energy. They saw the energy of heaven and earth rushing in from all directions. It formed a whirlpool and poured into the cave. The cave seemed to be a bottomless pit. It could devour the energy of heaven and earth around it endlessly. A new aura came out of the cave. The aura caused the Xian Qi of the Seven-Star Hall disciples to stagnate. They trembled under the pressure. "It's stone. He's starting to reach the Emperor realm." Lin Weiqi and Dongli Jiao looked at each other. They were familiar with the aura in the small cave where stone was. Stone was breaking through to the Emperor realm. The aura was even more powerful than when they broke through. Several hours later, the surrounding heaven and earth energy finally dissipated. Then a terrifying aura shot out from the cave like a dragon soaring into the sky. The oppressive aura was powerful and shocking. Swish! Stone's figure flew out of the cave and landed on the ground. A powerful aura came from his body and shook the surrounding space. The Seven-Star Hall disciples looked at him with envy. It was the aura of a martial emperor. Stone had truly stepped into the Emperor realm. Time passed slowly in the cave where Du Xiaofu was. It was quiet and boring. However, cultivators didn't find it boring at all. A vast golden Xian Qi spread out from Du Xiaofu's body and filled the entire cave. Whoosh! The golden Xian Qi around Du Xiaofu surged like a tide. He didn't know when it started, but the energy of heaven and earth in the surroundings had already begun to converge. It was like a storm was howling, and it was extremely violent. However, Du Xiaofu, who was cultivating, was oblivious to all of this. On the other hand, in the outside world, the space trembled. An invisible aura filled the abyss, causing Lin Weiqi, Dongli Jiao, and the others to be surprised. Third young master is about to break through the aura. Stone stood on a rock and looked at the cave in front of him. He couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. The fluctuation of the aura was too ferocious and terrifying. The aura of the young hall master is incomparable to that of a martial emperor at the Nirvana realm. I wonder how strong the young hall master's body is. How strong is the sacred gate in his body to have such a terrifying aura? Dongli Jiao exclaimed. The fluctuation of the aura made him gasp. His pride as a cloud-piercing phoenix blood eagle was gradually shaken, and he lost his confidence. My state of mind was too narrow, and my vision was too high. Fortunately, I found out early. Lin Weiqi smiled bitterly. She was still beautiful and intoxicating. Within the mountain cave, the surrounding natural energy finally began to calm down after a long while. A new aura swept out in an incomparably overbearing manner, causing the Seven Stars Hall disciples in the deep abyss to be shaken to the point of prostrating themselves. Far away in the abyss, on a stone wall, Jiang Qin looked down into the abyss. He lowered his head slightly. The outline of his face was also perfect. He muttered, "It seems that I have underestimated this human." Inside the cave, as the energy of heaven and earth around them calmed down, it didn't have time to disperse. Suddenly, the energy of heaven and earth fluctuated again. Inside the cave, another aura began to soar. When the overbearing aura dissipated, a white light spread out from the cave like a divine light. The aura emitted from the white divine light seemed to contain the mysteries of the changes of all things in the world. An ancient divine power rippled. He broke through at the same time. He is also breaking through at the level of a spiritual talisman master. Lin Weiqi looked in the direction of the cave. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shock, rippling like the tide. No one knew how much time had passed. Inside the cave, the white divine light around Du Xiaofu's body continued to rise as his aura continued to rise. It was filled with a faint rune light. The divine light fluctuated, appearing extremely mysterious. All of this continued until the rising aura around Du Xiaofu's body finally stabilized. Only then did the white divine light around him disappear. Tsk tisk. His eyelashes trembled slightly. Du Xiaofu's tightly shut eyes opened slightly. The light in his eyes flickered and disappeared quickly. It made his gaze even brighter and deeper. Huff! Du Xiaofu exhaled a long breath of turbid air from his stomach and throat. Then a smile involuntarily appeared in his eyes under the mask. 7-star Talisman Master is mysterious. Du Xiaofu smiled. After breaking through to the mysterious level of a 7-star Talisman Master, he felt that the Yuan spirit in his Naiwan Palace was several times stronger than before. Du Xiaofu knew that all of this was because of the old zombie's corpse core. The energy it contained was terrifyingly vast, and it had great benefits for the Yuan spirit. In addition to the few months of training in the sealed ancient land, as well as some small benefits he had obtained from it. In addition, he had obtained the remnant of the mysterious cultivation method in the beast bone from the Du family's martial repository. As a foundation, his level of Talisman Master had improved. Ever since he cultivated the remnant of the mysterious cultivation method in the beast bone, Du Xiaofu didn't cultivate the great One Soul mantra that his elder brother Jin Qingchen had given him. Cultivating the remnant of the mysterious cultivation method didn't require too much cultivation. It could allow one's mental energy to soar. If it wasn't for the remnant of the mysterious cultivation method, Du Xiaofu estimated that it would take him at least a period of time to break through to the mysterious level of a 7-star Talisman Master. It wouldn't be so fast. Father, you broke through again. Little Xingxing's tender voice sounded clearly. Her small body swept behind Du Xiaofu. Her thin wings fluttered gently. She was extremely cute. It was impossible to imagine how ferocious and terrifying the real body of this little guy was. I broke through. Du Xiaofu smiled. Not only did he advance in the level of Talisman Master, but he also stepped into the mysterious level of the martial emperor realm in martial arts. The corpse core was simply a treasure. Just the benefits of the corpse core were enough to make this trip to the sealed ancient land worthwhile. Feeling the divine watchtower in his body expanding once again and the vigorous, profound energy within it, Du Xiaofu's mind moved slightly and surging profound energy filled his surroundings. With a wave of his hand, he swept across the space in front of him and traces of fine ripples that seemed to have substance appeared in the void. The mysterious martial emperor realm, feeling the vigorous, profound energy in his body, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but smile. The comfortable feeling of having one's strength soar after breaking through was too alluring for cultivators. It was a huge temptation that no cultivator could refuse. The mysterious martial emperor realm. I don't know when I will be able to reach the other side of the martial emperor realm, Du Xiaofu muttered in his heart. Every time his cultivation improved, he knew that he was one step closer to his goal. One day, when he became the top expert in the world, his dream would be realized. Young Palace Master, congratulations on your breakthrough. After a moment, when Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing both raised their heads and walked out of the cave, Lin Weiqi put away the shock in her heart and smiled sweetly. At this moment, she could feel that although the young man in front of her had restrained his aura, however, compared to before, that invisible aura had increased enormously. This is only the mysterious level of the martial emperor realm. It is still far from the revered level. Du Xiaofu slightly stretched his body. The crisp sound of bones stretching could be heard from his body. At this moment, the mysterious martial emperor realm was still too far away to break through to the revered level. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Lin Weiqi, Dongli Jiao, Sun Wu, and the others could only look at each other. In the end, they rolled their eyes at Du Xiaofu. The revered level experts had all cultivated for hundreds or thousands of years. Even the most talented people would need at least 200 years or more to do so. Being a supremacy wasn't something that could be broken through just by relying on one's talent alone. At this moment, the young man in front of them, even if he had cultivated from his mother's womb, it would only take him more than 20 years to reach the mysterious martial emperor realm. However, he was still not satisfied. Not long ago, during the Seven Palaces conference, the young man in front of them was only at the peak of the martial king realm and the complete 6 stars realm. Now, not long after, the young man in front of them had already reached the mysterious martial emperor realm. This made Lin Weiqi, Dong Li Jiao, and the others speechless. "Don't discourage us," Dong Li Jiao could not help but say to Du Xiaofu. He realized where his confidence came from. It was simply incomparable to the guy in front of them. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly and did not speak. He looked at Dong Li Jiao and Lin Weiqi. The aura of the two of them had increased a lot. The corpse core must have greatly benefited them. Martial Emperor Realm. When his gaze fell on stone, Du Xiaofu's face sank. Then he smiled. Just reached the Martial Emperor Realm. It is still incomparable to the third young master. Chapter 894. Stone rubbed the back of his head in a simple and honest manner. He clearly knew that even if the third young master had not broken through to the martial emperor stage, he would not be a match for the third young master if they were of the same cultivation level. "Can we go now? It took you 28 days to break through. We don't have much time left." At the same time, Jiang Qin appeared within the gorge. He looked at Du Xiaofu, his eyes as dark and profound as ever. 28 days, said Jiang Qin. When Du Xiaofu heard this, his heart skipped a beat. 28 days. That meant that he had been in the sealed ancient land for almost 4 months. However, he had yet to find the Yin spiritual crystal. Looking at Jiang Qin, Du Xiaofu seemed to think of something. "Are you very familiar with this place?" he asked. "Of course," said Jiang Qin, nodding. "Then, do you know where to find Yin spirit crystals?" asked Du Xiaofu. "Yin spirit crystals." Jiang Qin raised his head slightly, as if thinking about something. After a while, he said to Du Xiaofu, "I remember now. There are Yin spirit crystals here, but they're in the hands of the vine monster. It's not weak. Even the 3 of them don't want to provoke it. Do you want Yin spirit crystals?" Du Xiaofu nodded. He was pleasantly surprised. Finally, there was news of the Yin spiritual crystal. He said, "Where is the Yin spiritual crystal? I must get it. There's no time. It's impossible." Jiang Qin glanced at Du Xiaofu and said, "I'm sure your ultimate goal in coming here is to obtain the ultimate opportunity. It's about to begin, and we need to strengthen your artifact spirit. There's not enough time. I need to take you on a short journey. We don't have time to go get the Yin spirit crystals." Jiang Qin paused for a moment, then said, "It's not that I'm looking down on you. Although you and the true dragon's descendant aren't weak, I'm afraid it'll be difficult for you to deal with the vine monster." When Du Xiaofu heard this, he shook his head slightly. He looked at Jiang Qin and said, "Even if I can obtain the final great opportunity or strengthen the artifact spirit, I must obtain the Yin spirit crystal. Besides, I want the Yin spirit crystal for my weapon. If I want to suppress the evil weapon soul, I must obtain the dark nether sect." Jiang Qin looked at Du Xiaofu for a moment, then said, "I can take you there, but don't blame me if you can't get the final benefit." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A moment later, hundreds of figures flew out of the valley's abyss. "Ah, Xiaofu, 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 Xiaofu." At this moment, there was a rather handsome young man in the cave. His face was pale, and cold sweat was dripping down his forehead. His handsome face was constantly twitching, and he looked extremely ferocious. Surprisingly, he was the profound talisman sex Chen Yan. "Ah!" Chen Yan let out a shrill cry. Sharp fangs actually extended from both sides of his mouth, and they emitted a cold light as runes spread out. "No, I don't want to become an evil spirit. Chen Yan was in agony. He had been hiding here for half a month. He was afraid that his transformation would be discovered by his fellow disciples from the profound talisman sect. At that time, they would definitely kill him, just like how they dealt with the other disciples. Over the past few days, many people who had been injured in the battle with the evil spirit army had gone crazy and transformed into identical evil spirits. They attacked their companions like crazy, and in the end, they could only be dealt with reluctantly by their fellow disciples. Thus, Chen Yan didn't dare to expose himself. When he felt that his situation was getting worse, he intentionally left the group and hid here. His entire body was turning cold. It was like his soul was numb to the point of losing control. Chen Yan's body was also turning cold. Coldness filled the air. His blood was about to coagulate, and fangs even grew out of his mouth. Chen Yan didn't want to die. He didn't want to die, and no one wanted to die. He still wanted to become the #1 disciple in the profound talisman sect. He still wanted to obtain that peerlessly beautiful woman. He still wanted to become an expert whose name shook the entire Central Plains. How could he be willing to die like this? His desire to live was boundless, and Chen Yan was stubbornly resisting it. Chen Yan took out a dazzling crimson bead from his cosmos bag. It was the size of an infant's fist, and he placed it in his mouth. This crimson bead emitted a blazing aura that was capable of absorbing the coldness in Chen Yan's body. This crimson bead was something Chen Yan had accidentally obtained from the profound talisman sect a few years ago. He didn't know what it was used for, nor was he able to study it. However, he discovered that it was extremely hot and wasn't an ordinary item. Thus, he had always kept it in his possession. Later on, when the strange coldness in his body flared up, Chen Yan placed this blazing bead in his mouth. He immediately felt much better. Thus, even though it was a horrible sight to behold every time it flared up, he was able to endure it under the effects of the mysterious crimson bead. As he persevered, Chen Yan even discovered that his physical body was becoming stronger and stronger. There seemed to be many miraculous changes in his body. It became extremely strange and also increasingly powerful. It had been almost 4 months in the sealed ancient land. The number of evil spirits had reached a terrifying level. To the people in the sealed ancient land, it was much more difficult than when they had first entered the sealed ancient land. Among them, many people had obtained shocking benefits, which had been supporting everyone's desire and passion. It was especially so for Yi Pialing and the mysterious young man from the beast race. Both of them had obtained shocking inheritances, which stimulated everyone's nerves. It has been almost a month. I didn't expect Yi Pialing and the mysterious young man from the beast race to still be alive. Instead, they have killed so many people. That young man from the beast race is terrifying. It is said that a martial emperor who had just ascended to the martial emperor stage also fell in his hands. Yi Pialing is also terrifying. He has 6 people with him. Every one of them is tyrannical. When the 7 of them joined forces, they wiped out thousands of people. In the battle 10 days ago, the 7 of them killed no less than 3,000 people. Blood flowed like a river. In the end, they defeated the encirclement of 10,000 people and successfully escaped. During this period of time, the names of Yi Pialing and the mysterious young man from the beast race had spread throughout the sealed ancient land. On a mountain top, there were hundreds of people standing together. There were few young men and women who were extraordinary and had powerful auras. There were many people around the mountain top who were vigilantly leaving. They were either talking about evil spirits, Yi Pialing, or the young man from the beast race who had obtained the ancient heavenly fox. Yi Pialing, is that guy here too? On the mountain top, there was a mysterious young man in purple soft armor. Under the mask, there was a sharp fluctuation in his eyes. He said, "Find him. The matter of the Ean's spiritual crystal can be delayed. Let's find Yi Pialing first. Could it be that you also want the ancient inheritance?" Lin Weiqi's beautiful eyes narrowed. After spending some time together, she knew that this guy was ferocious and overbearing. Wherever he went, he would pluck the feathers of any wild goose that passed by. However, Lin Weiqi also knew that this guy definitely had his own principles. He would only snatch things that had no owner. He would only deal with people who offended him. However, this guy would never bully others. Therefore, Lin Weiqi felt that it was strange. Du Xiaofu slightly raised his head, and a sharp light flashed in his eyes. He said, "There are some things that I will tell you in the future. In short, if anyone dares to touch them, I will not let them off." After leaving the abyssal canyon, Du Xiaofu did not expect to hear this news along the way. Yi Pialing, who had obtained the ancient inheritance, was probably the only other person besides him. When he returned to the dark forest, Yi Pialing and Qinguyu had come to the central continent to train. Calculating the time, it had been several years since they left. According to the rumors, there were several young men with Yi Pialing. Du Xiaofu guessed that Qinguyu was also with them. At this moment, the two of them were being hunted by various forces who wanted to steal the ancient inheritance. They also had to face the evil spirits. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but be worried. The Yin spiritual crystal was important, but Yi Pialing and the others were in danger. They already knew the location of the Yin spiritual crystal, so they could take a breather. However, Yi Pialing and Qinguyu were in danger. Therefore, Du Xiaofu decided to look for Yi Pialing first. Whoosh! Whoosh! Hundreds of figures then soared into the sky and left the mountain. In the dark space above the barren mountain, there was a faint purple-golden lightning flickering in the air. Find out and search everywhere. We must find Yi Pialing. On the mountain, a young man wearing a cloud robe had a grave expression. The young man was Du Yunlong, the vice president of the World Society. He had already received news that Yi Pialing was in danger and was searching everywhere for him. Yi Pialing and Qinguyu should be together. We must find them as soon as possible. Du Xiaoman's eyes narrowed. She held the Tianwu Academy's badge in her hand and said, "I wonder if Qinguyu brought the Academy's badge with him. Maybe he's too far away. Let's continue searching." Whoosh! A figure flew up from the bottom of the mountain and arrived at the top in an instant. It was a young man in white clothes. He looked to be around 27 or 28 years old. He was handsome and had a slight smile on his face. His deep eyes were filled with tyranny and evil. He was emitting the aura of a king that could shake the world. Only the silver-winged demonic condor could have such a complicated aura. "Vice Palace Master, we caught a few people and found out that Yi Pialing should have escaped to the front. However, someone found traces of him. It said that some people from the 9 factions are participating in the hunt. They want to seize the ancient expert's inheritance." The silver-winged demon condor said to Du Xiaoqing, who was standing in front of everyone. On the demon's handsome face, there seemed to be a wanton and unrestrained evil smile. At this moment, the silver-winged demonic condor's aura was that of a true beast emperor. He didn't know when this guy had truly stepped into the beast emperor realm. Chapter 895. Find them for me. The World Society was created by my brother. I won't let anyone who dares to touch the people from the World Society go. Du Xiaoqing's pure and innocent temperament was cold at this moment. Dazzling green light overflowed, bewitching, holy, and incomparably noble as she spoke in a delicate voice. In the dark space, black fog surged around like dark clouds. The cliff was so tall that it looked like it was carved by a knife. Chi, a figure landed in front of the cliff. It was a young man with silver hair. He looked to be around 23 or 24 years old. However, this young man was too beautiful. He was so beautiful that he didn't look like a human. He was so beautiful that one couldn't tell if he was a man or a woman. His long silver hair was untied and draped over his back. Under his delicate, feminine eyebrows were a pair of dark purple eyes that could steal one's soul. The corners of his eyes were slightly raised, as if they could make people flirt with him. The man's face was like a peach petal, and his eyes were like autumn waves. His face was powdered, and his lips were painted. This kind of beauty was hard to tell if he was a man or a woman. It could move both men and women. Chi! Fresh blood flowed out from the corner of the silver-haired man's mouth. One could tell that his breathing was chaotic. His silver robe was also stained with blood. The silver-haired man landed and looked around cautiously. Suddenly, his expression changed. Chi! Just as the silver-haired man's expression changed, the space rippled. 7 figures instantly appeared from all directions and surrounded the silver-haired man. These were 7 young men, and all of them had extraordinary auras. The silver-haired man glanced at the 7 young men around him. His eyes became sharp, and he said, "Are you guys waiting for me here? Do you think you can defeat me with just the 7 of you? There should be more than one person. There must be others behind. Let's deal with them first." Among the 7 young men, a well-built young man with a head full of brown hair looked at the silver-haired man. His aura immediately surged out after his voice sounded. The vast and mighty aura was accompanied by a ferocious and wild aura that was mixed with some dark aura as it pounced towards the silver-haired man. Boom! The brown-haired young man threw a punch. It was as if a wild beast was roaring. Its power was unparalleled. It instantly arrived in front of the silver-haired man. Humph! The silver-haired man raised his head slightly and let out a low snort from his throat. A palm that was suffused with white light collided with the burly brown-haired youth and sent him flying. Dang dang! Although the brawny brown-haired youth was strong, he was defeated by the silver-haired man in just one move. If you want to obtain the inheritance, you're not strong enough. The silver-haired man didn't stop at all. Originally, he looked as gentle as jade, but at this moment he suddenly became fierce and intimidating. The illusion god had a white light burning like a flame. A claw print swept out as if it wanted to tear apart space. Just as the brown-haired youth's body was still retreating, the claw print swept out. The silver-haired man's attacks were fierce, swift, and crafty. He was absolutely not an ordinary figure, and it was utterly impossible for him to possess such a murderous aura without experiencing the tempering of the baptism of blood. Peak Beast Emperor Realm. Looking at the silver-haired man, the expressions of a tall young man in a blue and white robe and a black-robed young man with a sharp gaze changed at the same time. Dark Knight Cheetah, watch out! With a loud shout, the black-robed youth with sharp eyes instantly disappeared from where he was. Chi! Just as the silver-haired man's claw print appeared less than a foot away from the brown-haired youth, the black-robed youth's figure appeared like a ghost. Boom! The black-robed youth raised his hand and a fierce aura swept out like a raging tide. Not only was there a terrifying aura suppressing the aura, but there were also many terrifying runes surging. The energy of the two collided and immediately erupted like a volcanic eruption, causing the space to tremble violently. Then the two of them were sent flying back at the same time, scraping the ground. Uft! The silver-haired man retreated, and his silver hair fluttered behind him. However, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. He was already injured. The black-robed youth retreated, and blood flowed out from his back, drenching his black robe. It was the wound on his body that hadn't healed yet. It was caused by the joint attack of several powerful figures not long ago, and it had burst open when he exerted force. You didn't come for us. After the black-robed youth stabilized his body, his long sleeves shook slightly, and his long black hair fluttered. He slowly withdrew his sharp aura. Looking at the silver-haired man in front of him, his eyes were immeasurably deep. He said, "I think we have misunderstood. If I'm not wrong, you're the mysterious beast man who obtained the inheritance of the ancient celestial fox, right? Who are you?" The silver-haired man looked at the black-robed youth and the other 7 people with some fear and shock in his eyes. The opponent's strength was beyond his expectations. He was extremely sharp and unfathomable. Although he hadn't used his full strength before, it wasn't difficult for him to know that the black-robed youth wasn't easy to deal with. He wasn't inferior to him. If it weren't for the fact that his cultivation and strength had increased greatly after obtaining the inheritance a month ago, he probably wouldn't have been able to contend with the black-robed youth. I'm Yi Pialing from the World Society in the Dark Forest. These 6 are my brothers, Changguyu and Yi Cha, Duo Sha, Ingyan, In Tianjue, and Guwuying. Yi Pialing said to the silver-haired man, Yi Pialing, you're the one who obtained the inheritance of the ancient expert. The silver-haired man was stunned. He glanced at the black-robed youth and the other 7 people in front of him and said with some shock, 10 days ago, it was the 7 of you who killed thousands of people and escaped the siege of tens of thousands of people. Haha, among the 7 people, a thin youth with a murderous aura laughed out loud. He seemed to be quite proud and said, of course it was us. Those guys thought that we 7 brothers were easy to bully. When we killed them until they were scared, they knew that we 7 brothers weren't to be trifled with. That's right. Kill them until they were scared and didn't dare to provoke us again. The silver-haired man nodded and agreed with the thin youth's words. He then said to the 7 people, I'm Silver Fox. This is a healing elixir refined by an extraordinary medicine talisman master. It's quite effective for healing injuries. It's the same for the Beast Clan. We're all in the same boat. There's no need for us to know each other. It's all fate. Yi Pialing threw an elixir to Silver Fox. Silver Fox reached out and caught the elixir in his palm. At this moment, Silver Fox's elixirs had been used up in the pursuit last month. He really needed elixirs to heal himself now. After a slight hesitation, Silver Fox swallowed the elixir. He then cupped his fist and said to Yi Pialing, thank you. Don't mention it. I thought you were here for us. Please forgive me if I offended you. However, I can't beat you anyway. We're even. Anya Cha, who was attacking Silver Fox, smiled embarrassedly. He wasn't Silver Fox's opponent. Now he found a way out for himself. You're welcome. Silver Fox smiled. Anya Cha's straightforwardness made him feel very happy. He then said to the 7 people, everyone, let's part ways here. Goodbye. Brother Silver Fox, if it's convenient, why don't you come with us? Since we're in the same situation now, it might be easier if we take care of each other. Yi Pialing stopped Silver Fox. Silver Fox's deep purple eyes were filled with hesitation. He had always been alone. With the noble bloodline of the beast race, he didn't want to be with others, especially humans. Beside Yi Pialing, Chinguyu, who was wearing a blue and white robe and had the aura of a ferocious beast, said to Silver Fox, if you think highly of us and believe in us, then let's go together. Hearing Chinguyu's words, Yi Pialing's eyes became sharp. He had a high nose bridge and a proud smile on his thin lips. He said in a deep voice, as long as we can get out of here, we'll definitely take care of those bastards who besieged us. Looking at Yi Pialing, Chinguyu, and the others, Silver Fox's hesitation disappeared. His eyes shone. He knew that the 7 people in front of him were all extraordinary. They were all transcendents of the human race. Right now, they were in the same situation as him. It seemed that they were in the same situation and were going through the same experience. After a while, Silver Fox nodded and said to Yi Pialing, Chinguyu, and the others, okay, I'll go with you. Haha. Duo Sha laughed and walked up to Silver Fox with a murderous aura. He patted Silver Fox's shoulder and said, I've heard about you. It's said that you've even killed a martial royal realm cultivator. Welcome to join us. From now on, we'll be fighting side by side. You're very special. Silver Fox smiled at Duo Sha's enthusiasm. The 7 young men in front of him gave him a very special feeling. Chinguyu's eyes shone as he said, this time, we'll definitely be able to get away. We just need to find the president. We shouldn't stay here for long. Let's find a place to heal first. Yi Pialing said, whoosh, whoosh. After a short while, 8 figures flashed through the air and disappeared into the sky. 3 days later, countless people surged into a mountain range, covering the sky and covering the earth. They seemed to be searching for something in a carpet-style manner. Yi Pialing and the young man who obtained the inheritance of the ancient heavenly fox are hiding in this mountain range. They can't hide anymore. They're surrounded by people. The inheritance of the ancient heavenly fox and the inheritance of the ancient heavenly fox. It'll be great if I can get it. Yi Pialing and the young man from the ancient heavenly fox tribe obtained the inheritance not long ago. If we kill them now, we'll be able to get the inheritance. There were many discussions in the mountain range. Many people's eyes were red with greed. To them, the most attractive thing in the sealed ancient land was the ancient heavenly fox tribe's inheritance. Apart from the great opportunity at the end, the most attractive thing was definitely the inheritance of the ancient heavenly fox tribe. Now that two inheritances had appeared, how could they let go of them? Everyone knew that once they obtained the inheritance, they would be able to become real experts and become famous in the Central Plains. Chapter 896. Found them. They're right in front. Someone found Yi Pialing and the others. Even the young man from the beast race is there. They've already started fighting. Suddenly, a voice came from the front. Immediately, a huge commotion broke out in the crowd. Let's hurry over. We can't let them beat us to it. We have to be careful, too. Yi Pialing and the mysterious young man are both extraordinary. We can only fish in troubled waters. What's there to be afraid of? With so many people joining forces, I don't believe that no matter how strong they are, how strong can they be? The crowd was in an uproar. Their eyes were burning with greed. Numerous figures immediately swept across the sky and rushed forward in a densely packed manner. Whoosh, whoosh, hundreds of people flew over and landed on a mountain peak. It was Du Xiaofu, Lin Weiqi, Dongli Diao, Stone Jiangchen, and the others. It seems there are quite a lot of people. This is the place. I heard that the young man called Yi Pialing was found here. Sun Wu looked at the crowd in front of him. This was the information he had gathered on the way here. Du Xiaofu looked at the mountain peak in front of him. There wasn't a single blade of grass growing. Huge rocks were scattered all over the place. It was like a stone mountain that emitted a purple and gold light. Black fog lingered in the air, covering the space. Withdrawing his gaze from the distance, Du Xiaofu said to Lin Weiqi, Dongli Diao, and Shi Tu, protect me. As soon as he spoke, Du Xiaofu sat down cross-legged and formed a hand seal. Suddenly, a dazzling white light spread out from his body. An ancient aura rippled out, causing people's hearts to tremble. Protect me. Hearing Huang Xiaolong's words, Lin Weiqi, Dongli Diao, and Shi Tu immediately moved. The auras of the three of them fluctuated and formed a triangle around Du Xiaofu, protecting him. Huh, what a strong primordial spirit. It's very special. Jiangchen had been quietly following them from behind. When he sensed the white divine light emanating from Du Xiaofu's body, a trace of surprise appeared in his deep, dark eyes. Jiangchen was quite surprised. He could sense that the power of Du Xiaofu's nascent spirit was unusual. It contained an ancient aura, as if it contained the mysteries of heaven and earth. As for Jiangchen's identity, aside from Lin Weiqi, Dongli Diao, and Stone, none of the other 7-star Hall disciples knew. Some 7-star Hall disciples were surprised by Jiangchen's mysterious appearance. Even the junior Hall master, senior apprentice sister Lin Weiqi, and senior apprentice brother Dongli Diao treated him with respect. The disciples could sense a hint of fear towards the mysterious purple-robed man in his politeness, so they didn't ask any questions. Boom! White divine light radiated from Du Xiaofu's forehead as he formed a hand seal. A dazzling beam of light shot up into the sky, then disappeared without a trace. Although Lin Weiqi, Dongli Diao, and Stone didn't know what Du Xiaofu was doing, they could sense that the junior hall master was using the power of his nascent spirit. This was undoubtedly the moment when he couldn't be affected. When the other 7-star Hall disciples saw this, they instinctively clustered around the junior hall master, protecting him. Du Xiaofu was currently using his nascent spirit to cast a technique that allowed him to spy on his surroundings from afar. Although this was only a small trick, it was extremely dangerous to use the power of one's nascent spirit. If he encountered an enemy now, the consequences would be dire. Whoosh! A moment later, Du Xiaofu withdrew his aura and took a deep breath. Beneath his mask, his eyes were clear and sharp. He shot into the air, transforming into a streak of light that shot away like a bolt of lightning. His voice echoed through the air. He's up ahead. I'll go first. Follow me. Rumble! Deep sonic booms could be heard from time to time among the mountain peaks, causing the space to tremble. In the middle of a huge valley, there were mountain peaks all around. Low and deep sonic booms could be heard. The valley was densely packed with people. There were at least tens of thousands of people, and the vast flat ground was densely packed together. Rumble! In the air and on the ground, figures flickered, runes dazzled, and waves of powerful aura surged. At this moment, an extremely fierce battle was unfolding in the sky above the valley. A 30-meter-long silver fox that was covered in a divine silver light exploded out with a terrifying might. Wherever it passed, countless figures were torn into a bloody mist. Kill! The other 7 young men were fierce and fierce. They were all like ferocious beasts, slaughtering their way through the crowd. The 7 people and 1 beast were Yi Piaoling, Qingguyu, Silver Fox, and the others. The 8 of them couldn't escape from everyone's search and were discovered here. A battle was about to break out. Let's work together. Let's work together and deal with these people. As long as we can kill these people, we can get the inheritance of the ancient expert. There were at least 10,000 people in the crowd. They urged their huge meridian souls to roar and attacked with all their might. Their eyes were red with greed. The allure of an ancient powerhouse's inheritance caused people to flock towards the 7 people and 1 beast. Kill! Yi Piaoling soared into the sky. Her eyes were sharp and murderous. Waves of faint black xian qi spread out from Yi Piaoling's body. Each wave was fiercer than the previous one. The runes were dazzling, and the aura was surging. It could suppress everything. At this moment, Yi Piaoling was killing in the sky. No one could stop her. How terrifying! Kill! Qingguyu attacked. His blue and white robe fluttered in the wind. He was like a ferocious beast rushing into the crowd. His terrifying physical body was his biggest advantage in the sealed land. Wherever he passed, a large number of people turned into bloody mist. People were frightened and retreated. The battle was extremely intense. The killing was fierce and overflowing. Blood flowed like a river. The 7 people and 1 beast attacked with all their might. They knew that if they retreated, they would be doomed. Only by going forward and fighting to the end could they have a chance to survive. Facing the continuous attacks of tens of thousands of people, the 7 people and 1 beast were very tired. Their energy consumption was very fast. Although each of them was terrifyingly ferocious, they were also tired of dealing with it. Under the aftermath of the energy waves, they also suffered many injuries. Kill! Duosha shouted. His figure soared into the sky. Murderous aura surged and swept in all directions. Kill! Gu Wuing was extraordinary. His speed was as fast as lightning, and he left behind illusions. It was hard for people to catch him. Wherever he passed, countless enemies were killed. Kill! Yin Tianjue stood proudly in the sky. His hands formed into claws and swept across the sky. He was like a man holding back 10,000 enemies. He tore apart the meridian souls in the sky and many figures. His murderous aura swept across the sky. Rumble! In such an intense battle, the energy that spread out in the valley was like raging waves hitting the shore. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was cracking. Rumbling sounds reverberated endlessly like thunder. Although the 7 people and 1 beast were unable to escape from the siege, they were all injured and consumed more energy. Under the terrifying attacks, the 8 people were like 8 killing gods. Blood flowed like a river, and the people around them began to feel more and more scared. Many people had already started to retreat and watch. They did not dare to rush over and attack. The 7 people and 1 beast were really ferocious. They were like ferocious beasts and killing gods. Kill! Yi Pialing shouted. She swooped down and punched an extraordinary hero at the peak of the martial king realm. His body exploded with one punch. Retreat! Hurry! Everyone who was besieging him suddenly turned pale with fright and quickly retreated. In a spurt of energy, the 7 people and 1 beast attacked ferociously without fear of death. They killed until blood flowed like a river. Then they finally retreated, except for Qingguyu, Yi Pialing, and Silver Fox. At this moment, Anyang, Duo Sha, Ingyan, Yin Tianjue, and Guwuying were all covered in wounds and blood was flowing out. Everyone's clothes were stained with large patches of blood. It was unknown whether it was the blood of their opponents or their own. The bloodstains and dripping blood made them look even more ferocious and fierce. If you want the inheritance, come at me if you have the ability. Kill without mercy. Yi Pialing shouted. Her voice was like thunder. The murderous aura in her sharp eyes soared into the sky, causing the surrounding temperature to drop suddenly. The intense murderous aura sent chills down people's spines. Their hair stood on end and their hearts trembled. Chills ran down their spines. In the distance of the valley, there were many people on one of the mountain peaks. There were close to 1,000 of them. Whether it was their aura or temperament, they were all extraordinary and extraordinary. In front of them, there were a few young men and women who were even more powerful. This was especially true for the young man in a red robe who was around 23 or 24 years old and the woman who was dressed in an orange-red outfit. Both of them had an invisible aura that was able to stand out among their peers and attract attention like a crane in a flock of chickens. This was the lineup of the Great Luin Sect and the Divine Light Court. After entering the sealed ancient land, although the Great Luin Sect and the Divine Light Court had separated, many of their disciples had obtained many opportunities. However, the last 2 forces in the vicinity were chasing after the mysterious young man from the Beast Clan and Yi Pialing. Therefore, they gathered together again. Cheng Shengnan quietly looked at the flat ground of the valley in front of her. Her long and slender legs and slim waist caused her originally tall figure to appear even more slender and enchanting. Over the years, her aura had also become increasingly noble, and there was an additional sacred aura to it. Yi Pialing and the pale moon silver fox are indeed extraordinary. After obtaining the inheritance, they will definitely become difficult to deal with in the future. Dongli Chihuang looked ahead quietly. His slender figure was perfectly outlined under his red robe. It was as if he was born to capture everyone's attention. He seemed to be shrouded in a dazzling light. His eyes were so beautiful that no one dared to look directly at him. Then he said to the 4 young men behind him, "This motley crew is not enough to achieve great things. There is no need to watch the show. The 4 of you go. Whoever kills Yi Pialing and the pale moon silver fox will obtain the inheritance. It will depend on your own strength and luck." "Yes, Saint." The 4 young men immediately flew into the sky, for vast auras swept out and stepped on the void. Their bodies seemed to be shrouded in dazzling light. "You guys go too." Cheng Shengnan turned around and said to the 2 young men behind him. They were the other 2 martial royal realm cultivators in the Divine Light Court beside Xiaohui. However, one of them had recently broken through to the martial emperor realm after finding an opportunity in the sealed ancient land. Chapter 897. Hearing this, Cheng Shengnan frowned. Light flickered in her eyes as she said softly, "However, try not to kill them. It's good as long as you have a chance to get the inheritance." The 2 young men behind Cheng Shengnan nodded. They did not want to fall behind the 4 martial royal realm youths from the Great Luin Sect. They dashed forward immediately. "TSK, Tisk." In the next moment, the 6 martial royal realm youths from the Great Luin Sect and the Divine Light Court appeared on the valley. 6 powerful auras swept out. None of the 6 martial royal realm youths were ordinary people. One of the martial royal realm youths from the Great Luin Sect even had the aura of a new martial royal. In the air, Yi Pialing, Qingguyu, and Silver Fox had just blocked the first wave of attacks. Suddenly they raised their eyebrows, feeling the 6 terrifying auras. The 6 youths suddenly descended on the valley. They were 6 young experts with terrifying auras. Yi Piaoling raised his head and swept his sharp gaze over the 6 youths. Waves of sharp and cold aura constantly radiated from his body, causing the surrounding temperature to drop significantly. The 10,000 people surrounding Yi Piaoling also felt the auras of the 6 youths. They looked at each other and began to observe. That's Ming Yucai from the Great Luan sect. It's said that he broke through to the martial royal realm not long ago. Gong Liangjin and Gu Liangyu from the Divine Light Court are here too. They are not weaker than Xiao Hui, who was killed by Weapon Emperor Qiao Feng. In a short time, someone in the crowd recognized the 6 youths and a commotion broke out. These people dared to gather tens of thousands of people to deal with Yi Piaoling and the mysterious demonic beast youth. However, they did not dare to attack the Divine Light Court, especially the Great Luan sect. Yi Piaoling and the mysterious demonic beast youth did not have any forces behind them. They were not afraid of them. However, the Divine Light Court and the Great Luan sect were different. Even if the disciples of the Great Luan sect and the Divine Light Court obtained the ancient inheritance, they would not dare to attack them. This was because even if they could successfully plunder the treasures here, they would have to face the destructive attacks of the Great Will sect and the Divine Light Court when they got out. At that time, not only would the Great Will sect and the Divine Light Court not let them off, they would also not let their sects off. They might even kill their entire family. For a sect of that level, it was definitely something they could do. Kill. 6 young men at the martial royal realm from the Great Wheel sect and the Divine Light Court appeared. They glanced at Yi Piaoling, Silver Fox, and the others with disdain and greed. After the battle cry, the 6 people's qi rippled. The terrifying qi was like an overturning river and sea. It immediately enveloped Yi Piaoling's group of 7 people and 1 beast. Kill. Yi Piaoling didn't retreat. She knew that there was no way to retreat. She could only fight with all her might. She waved her hand and fought against the most powerful young man in the martial royal realm. Rumble. When the 2 of them collided, it was as if thunder had exploded in the sky. Rumbling sounds rang out in all directions as countless symbols erupted. Everyone thought that Qingguyu, who was wearing a blue and white robe and looked like a ferocious beast, had a terrifying physical body. In fact, Yi Piaoling's physical body was not much different from Qingguyu's. Both of them had been refined by the saintly body art. How terrifying was that? Roar! Silver Fox roared like a dragon and soared into the sky. There was a strange light in her eyes. She was fearless when she collided with a young man at the martial royal realm. Kill! Qingguyu, Anya Qing, Duo Sha, Ingyan, Yin Tianjue, and Gu Wuing were full of fighting spirit and killing intent. The 6 of them shouted and rushed out. They poured their qi into their bodies and dashed toward the other martial royal realm experts. Rumble. Qingguyu condensed a handprint and communicated with the energy of heaven and earth. He activated the talisman array on his body. At that moment, his physical body seemed to have awakened from a deep sleep. The talisman on his body burst out and turned into a dazzling sun. Terrifying qi erupted like a tsunami. Let's fight! Anya Qing and the others roared. They all used forbidden strength. Blood dripped and wounds covered their bodies. They were as ferocious as beasts. They all used their trump cards. At that moment, all of them had martial veins. Those 7 people and 1 beast are extraordinary, especially the Yi Piaoling. She should be an extraordinary person among the human kings. The pale moon Silver Fox obtained the inheritance of the ancient heavenly fox. In the future, she will definitely become a terrifying existence among the beasts. And the young man in the blue robe has talisman arrays on his body. His physical body is extraordinary. I didn't expect him to have such a cultivation technique. The Eastern mythical Scarlet Phoenix looked up at the sky above the valley at the great battle that was about to erupt at any moment. Her eyes glowed brightly as well. Among the 7 people, 1 was a human king, 5 were outstanding talents, and 1 had a terrifying physical body. The pale moon silver fox was not much weaker than Yi Piaoling. Outside of the 9 major forces, no other force could have such a lineup. Yi Piaoling and Qinggu Yu are from the World Society. The others might be from the World Society as well. Chen Shangnan said softly. Her eyes flickered with some complicated emotions. A slight gust of wind blew her hair up gently. It was a breathtaking sight. Hearing that, Dongli Chihuang's eyes flickered. He looked at the girl in front of him and said, "The World Society left behind by Du Xiaofu, the brave king of the Stone Dragon Empire?" "Yes." Chang Xingnan raised her eyebrows and looked at Dongli Chihuang. Her dimples showed. She said softly, "I beg you, just get the inheritance later. Don't take their lives. You are my fiancé. Don't say such things in the future. Your business is my business. There is no need to beg." Looking at Chang Xingnan, Dongli Chihuang said, "I promise you, just get the inheritance. I will keep their lives for you." After all, the World Society was left behind by the brave king of the Stone Dragon Empire. Although the Stone City World Society has established itself as the desolate country after his death, you are still loyal and cannot let go. I understand. I will not make things difficult for you. Thank you. Chang Shangnan smiled faintly. Her cheeks moved slightly. Her bright eyes carried a power that could capture one's soul, making one feel ethereal and far away when they looked at her. The easternly crimson phoenix stared at the woman before him, causing ripples to appear in his heart. He had seen countless women and had been by his side in the past. However, none of them could move his heart as much as the woman before him. The girl in front of him always had a faint, ethereal aura. It was difficult for him to see through her. It was because of this that he was captivated and unwilling to part with her. Rumble! A great battle broke out. The 7 people and the beast used all their strength. They did not hold back anymore. None of them could be defeated by their peers. However, under the attacks of the 6 extraordinary martial emperors from the Great Luan sect and the Divine Light Court, the 7 people and the beast were already exhausted and severely injured. They could not resist at all. The disciples from the Great Luan sect and the Divine Light Court were also extraordinary. Their strength could suppress their peers in the outside world. Rumble! After a long battle, the 6 young martial emperors from the Great Luan sect and the Divine Light Court used all their strength. There was a fluctuation of energy. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. Dazzling runes filled the sky. Mysterious qi roared like a burning flame. The 6 young martial emperors from the Great Luan sect and the Divine Light Court gathered their terrifying attacks into a torrent of energy. It rushed toward the 7 people and the beast. Under the terrifying energy, the sky was boiling. The torrent of energy soared into the sky and drowned everything. Its power was shocking. Tens of thousands of people in the surroundings trembled in fear. Puff, puff, puff! Yi Piaoling, Silver Fox, Qinggu Yu, and the beast tried their best to block it. However, they were still swept away and spat out blood. The bodies of the 7 people and the beast fell from the sky, causing the earth to shake and the mountains to shake. Big brother, second brother, you should leave first. As long as you can escape, you can avenge us in the future. Duo Sha climbed up from the ground. He was covered in blood. He looked at the 6 martial emperors in the sky. His eyes were cold and murderous. He knew that his big brother and second brother were the most powerful. They were the most likely to escape. There was no hope for them. If we die together. The divine guards never run away. We will never give up on our brothers. Yi Piaoling stood up and spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at the 6 young martial emperors from the Great Luan sect and the Divine Light Court in the sky and smiled cruelly. That's right. The divine guards never run away. Qinggu Yu stood up. His blue and white robe was ragged. Runes shone on his body. The wounds on his body started to heal miraculously. If we're going to die, we'll die together. I, Anya Cha, have no regrets. Anya, she said to his brothers beside him as he stood up. Back then, the 7 of us destroyed the Dark Blood sect, swept the 36 islands of Shanghai, and subdued the 18 caves of Ming Mountain. I, In Tianjua, have no regrets to die with you in this life. In Tianjua's mouth was covered in blood. His smile was so sharp that it sent chills down people's spines. Big brother, we swept the 36 islands of Shanghai a year ago. I haven't told you about it. Thank you for taking the blow for me. Otherwise, I would be dead by now. Ying Yan looked at Yi Piaoling. His eyes were calm, but there was a tenacity in them. We are brothers. Yi Piaoling didn't say much. He looked at the young men who were covered in blood and said, My only regret is that I don't have the strength to protect you. I am not worthy of being your big brother. Chapter 898. Boss, we're brothers. Gu Wuying looked at Yi Piaoling. His eyes were red and rippling. Silver Fox put away his bloody body and turned into his human form. His handsome face looked at the 7 of them and smiled. Looks like we're going to die with you guys. I always thought that humans were heartless and afraid of death. Looks like I was wrong. If we can survive this time, I don't mind being friends with you guys. Being friends is better than being brothers. If we can survive this time, why don't you join us? Then we'll be 8 brothers. Anya Qing smiled at Silver Fox. Silver Fox looked at the 7 of them, and his deep purple eyes moved. In the end, he unexpectedly nodded and said, Okay, I have no problem with that. Why wait until we're still alive? At least we're still alive now. Yi Piaoling stepped out and looked at Silver Fox. We're not ranked by strength or age. We're just counting the time we've spent together. From now on, you're the 8th brother. After that, Yi Piaoling waved his sleeves and his robe shook. He knelt down on one knee. Dong dong. As Yi Piaoling knelt down on one knee, Qingguyu, Anya Qing, Duo Sha, Yan In Tianjua, and Gu Wuying all knelt down on one knee and looked up at the dark sky. They said in unison, Heavens above, earth below. I, Yi Piaoling, Qingguyu, Anya Qing, Duo Sha, In Tianjua, and Gu Wuying. Today, I, Yi Piaoling, Qingguyu, Anya Qing, Duo Sha, Yan In Tianjua, and Gu Wuying will become brothers with Silver Fox. From now on, we'll go through thick and thin together. If we break this oath, we'll break this oath. Their voices spread in all directions and made everyone look at each other. Silver Fox looked at the 7 people who were kneeling on one knee beside him. His silver hair fluttered slightly, and his deep purple eyes seemed to ripple like autumn waves. He then waved his hand, and his silver robe shook. He knelt on one knee and said, Queen of Heaven, I, Silver Fox, am willing to become brothers with Yi Piaoling, Qingguyu, Anya Cha, Duo Sha, Yan In Tianjua, and Gu Wuying. From now on, we will share weal and woe. If I break this oath, I shall be struck by lightning and have my heart pierced by arrows. Ha ha! As soon as Silver Fox finished his words, the 8 of them looked at each other and smiled. The 8 of them opened their mouths and laughed. 8 of them put their palms on top of each other, and their laughter reverberated in all directions. The fact that us 8 brothers can die together today means that our lives have not been in vain. Duo Sha laughed out loud, fearless. The 8 of them were still able to become sworn brothers in such a magnanimous manner, even in such a hopeless situation. All of them were fearless, and this caused the expressions of many spectators in the surroundings to change as waves arose in their hearts. Death is at hand. Then I'll fulfill your wish. In the sky, the martial royal realm mystery level Ming Yutsai from the great Luan sect sneered coldly. If he could obtain the primordial inheritance from Yi Piaoling, he would definitely become more powerful. The primordial inheritance would belong to him. All of you go to hell! Ming Yutsai shouted and moved across the void. Dazzling radiance spread around him like a holy light. He swooped down, and a palm print swept toward Yi Piaoling, who was severely injured. The energy fluctuation was extremely terrifying. He wanted to obtain the primordial inheritance. Humph! Yi Pialing shouted and raised his head slightly. His body was tall and straight, and his eyes were filled with arrogance. He waved his hand, and a palm print was accompanied by a rolling fluctuation. The fluctuation carried an ancient aura. It was the aura of the primordial inheritance that he had obtained. It was a pity that he had not had the time to integrate it. Otherwise, he would not be afraid of the martial royal realm mystery level cultivation from the Great Luin sect. All of a sudden, the two of them collided. With a rumble, boundless energy, rune light flooded the surrounding space, causing everyone to be unable to open their eyes and look directly at it. Uft! Yi Pialing spat out a mouthful of blood. A cruel smile appeared on his face, and his eyes were filled with coldness. He shouted, "Chinguyu, I am the boss. I order you to leave now. Take them away." As he spoke, mysterious rune light spread out from Yi Pialing's body. It was his primordial soul. Boss is going to explode his primordial soul. He wants to perish together with that person. Ying Tianjua was shocked and his body trembled. Big brother, no. Chinguyu and Yi Ing Duo Sha and the others were shocked and shouted, "Leave, leave, leave as long as you can. As long as you are alive, there is hope. Avenge me in the future." Yi Pialing shouted. His aura was terrifying and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He wanted to explode his primordial soul and perish together with his opponent at the cost of his own life. He wanted to buy time for Chinguyu and the others to escape. Yi Pialing knew that he was the leader of the 8 and he was the big brother. He was responsible for it. It's too late for you to explode your primordial soul. Ming Yurai's eyes were filled with fear. He didn't expect Yi Pialing to be so fierce and fearless of death. However, Ming Yurai was no ordinary person. He was one of the best in the younger generation of the Great Will sect. Ming Yurai's palm emitted a dazzling light that seemed to be able to affect time. That palm print was filled with destructive power, and it fell towards Yi Pialing's primordial soul. Ming Yurai wanted to break Yi Pialing's primordial soul and stop it from exploding. Otherwise, with Yi Pialing's cultivation, he would be very close to Yi Pialing's primordial soul. Even if he didn't die, he would be severely injured. Do you think you can still take his life? At this moment, a domineering and sharp shout resounded in the sky above the valley. The sound waves were like rolling thunder. It was so sharp that it could shake one's soul. A dazzling light flashed past like a lightning bolt and appeared in front of Yi Pialing. As the light spread out, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Dark clouds rolled and lightning struck. It's him, Qiao Feng. In the distant mountain, Dongli Chihuang looked at the lightning aura in the sky. His expression changed instantly. Rumble. In just a short moment, no one could see clearly what had happened. The space where Yi Pialing and Ming Yurai were fighting had become dazzling and chaotic. Thunder rumbled. Then, a horrifying cry for help sounded from within the dazzling energy light. "Holy Sun, save me!" The cry for help was drowned out by the thunder. The dazzling light exploded like fireworks. However, under the dazzling light, there was a destructive aura. When the light dissipated, the lightning and thunder disappeared. The people around could finally see what was happening. At this moment, there was a mysterious young man in purple armor and a mask between Yi Pialing and Ming Yurai. Weapon Emperor Qiao Feng. Many people recognized him immediately. The mysterious young man was Weapon Emperor Qiao Feng, who had been in the limelight in the divine Thunder Mountain and shocked countless people. Yi Pialing was not dead. His eyes were filled with shock. His aura, which was about to explode his meridian spirit, was forcefully suppressed by a vast aura. Uft! Yi Pialing spat out blood again. His injuries worsened. However, he did not have to sacrifice his life for the explosion. As for Ming Yurai, there were many electric arcs on his body. His body was tattered and charred. He seemed to have been burned by lightning. Blood flowed from his mouth. Ming Yurai's chest had a bloody hole where his heart was. Electric arcs were surging and blood was gushing out. How can you be so strong? It's impossible. It's impossible. Ming Yurai looked at the young man in purple armor in front of him. His eyes were filled with fear and disbelief. Then, under the gaze of the people around him, his body started to crack. Finally, he exploded into a mist of blood. The Great Luen Sect was a martial royal realm mystery-level cultivator. His cultivation was not exaggerated, but he could be ranked in the top 20 among his peers in the entire central region. However, at this moment, he was killed in one move before anyone could see him clearly. Phew, phew! As Mingyu's body exploded, the sound of cold air being sucked in rose and fell one after another. Everyone's eyes were filled with fear. Xiaofeng, you are provoking my Great Luen Sect. High up in the sky, there was a furious roar. The angry voice made the hearts of those who heard it tremble. It was as if their minds were affected. Boom! As soon as the voice sounded, a dazzling light, which was like a holy light, descended. The light was so bright that it spread across the land. The sound of wind and thunder rumbled. Then, various dazzling runes appeared in the sky. The aura of the light seemed to cause one's mind to tremble. In fact, it contained an irresistible destructive force that wanted to kill Du Xiaofu. Dongli Chihuang, you are not strong enough. Du Xiaofu shouted. His eyes under the mask flickered with lightning, and his entire body was burning with electric arcs. Suddenly, a terrifying thunderbolt appeared in the sky. Not only was there lightning and thunder, there were also all kinds of terrifying and dazzling runes. With an incomparably tyrannical and disdainful aura, it swept out and collided with Du Xiaofu. Rumble. When the terrifying energy came into contact with each other, it made the valley extremely terrifying. The surrounding rocky mountains exploded one after another. Bang, bang, bang. All kinds of energy surged and swept out. The ground cracked and the mountains collapsed. It was as if the valley had become a land of destruction. This scene caused countless onlookers to cry out in surprise. Their gazes were incomparably shocked.